Dobro Pajalovat, hello everybody, and welcome back to Revival Tournament, brought to you by Revival Divisions League. My name is Mathis, and I'm your host for tonight. It's been a long time since I could say that. Let's hope I still got the hang of this. Welcome to the lower bracket final. Only 3 teams remain. Invictus and Elysium are facing off today. The winner will advance to the grand finals against X9 at the start of September. The loser will have to be satisfied for 3rd place. But hey, all teams from here on out will take a share of the prize pool. You might be thinking it's unfair to have the winner of this matchup go up to grand finals and get another shot against X9. Both of these teams have already lost before at one point in the tournament after all. But no, there's a pretty interesting incentive, a benefit the higher bracket team gets to carry into this grand final. No Joker sets here that you may have seen elsewhere. Instead, the winner bracket team will get to choose all maps for all killers. Not from the map pools, but from the entire game. There will be standard picks and bans, as you see everywhere else, with the higher bracket team deciding if they want to pick 1st or 2nd, however. It is also going to be a best of 7, but this team gets to pick all maps for their own killers as well as for their opponents. I'm curious to see if the winning team gets to take advantage of this in any way, because again, this has never been tested before. The trailer you saw at the beginning was made by Torsolman, and in case you missed it, head on over to our YouTube channel, use !YouTube in the chat, or check the links below the Twitch stream to be redirected straight to our YouTube channel, from where you can also see this match, by the way, as we always multi-stream. Don't forget to subscribe once you've arrived there, there's plenty to come in the future. And if you're watching us on Twitch and haven't followed us yet, why not? Just like subscribing to us on YouTube, it's free, and you can always change your mind later. If you want to get a better understanding of the bracket, considering a 12-team tournament with randomized seeding can be pretty confusing to look at a first glance, the design you see on screen might not satisfy your needs. You can try typing !challenge in the chat. You will be redirected to our challenge page, where you can track exactly the progress of the tournament. While you're at it, don't forget about our Discord channel. Use !Discord to join the community in case you want to reach out or need to read up on the rule set. Everything you may ever need can be found on our Discord server, especially the balancing, since that is what most players and viewers find the most interesting. Quick side note on the balancing, looting chests and proccing perk effects for perks like Moment of Glory is allowed, and I'm severely upset that Behavior have now, at the end of this tournament, decided to buff Moment of Glory to now make it an actual decent reset perk. Right now it takes 2 chest searches to heal yourself, it will be just 1 in a matter of days. But yeah, I'm done with my part. It's time to introduce the voices that will accompany you for this matchup. Tonight, CC doesn't stand for other people that you had in your email forwarded to, but instead it's Cyber and Cam. So, hello to my fellow casters. Cyber, it's been a long time, hasn't it?
It has. I haven't been able to unfortunately make any of the recent games, but I have been still watching and tuning into them, and I am super excited today for this matchup, Elysium versus Invictus. Really, the two of the titans of comp having to face off in this lower bracket in 2 very different lines. They've had Elysium going to that upper bracket, losing to X9 in the upper finals, Invictus going to lowers early on, having to fight their way, clawing to get here. Very exciting to see. But Cam, are you excited for today's matchup?
I've been competitive starved for like 2-3 weeks now. I needed this more than anything else, and it's such an exciting match, so I am so happy to be here. And as you said, it is the Battle of Titans, 2 massive names that have a fantastic roster on both teams, and it's going to be a great night. It really is going to be a great night.
Absolutely. Talk a little about the sets. We are in a best of 5 today. This is the lower bracket finals, like Mathis had said, but to start things off today, we are opening with Cenobite, which will be on Fallen Refuge, Elysium set choice. To touch a little bit on this, Ceno is always such an interesting set, as if you are on point with hitting your chains and chase, you can get pretty close to 2 taps, especially depending on RNG and stuff, if you can zone them right, if you have gen setups where you're really trapping and holding survivors kind of hostage to some degree. But on the counterpoint, supporting could just be so huge, Cam.
Again, and again, box logic, right? Being able to find that box and just get that tempo going always makes and can be a big difference in how a team performs on this killer. It it changes the dynamic of the match itself. And as you said, it is a best of 5. It's going to be the first match that we look at, but not the last one. We're going to have Blight second, and I have to be honest, Blight is always one of those sets that I'm very excited to see, especially at with these killers. It's always fascinating to see what kind of crazy plays and bump logic they're able to bring to the table.
Absolutely. Blight is really one of those sets where if you have a killer player who specializes perfectly in it, normally goes pretty well for you. And I mean, we have 2 Titans on the killers today. Assuming they are normally the traditional killer players for them, I would imagine it would be Xeno out of Elysium and Pedro from Invictus. So, I mean, 2 Blights that have been at the top of the game at their own respective points. I'm intrigued to see where things line up today. Moving on to that third set, we will have Oni on Dead Dog Saloon, which Oni is so interesting on that map with the ability to get the M1 hit early because it's a pretty set and center map compared to the, I guess you could say, comp traditional in Coal Tower. Coal Tower has a lot of variance in RNG. What tiles you're going to get? Did you get certain filler pallets to where you load into Dead Dog Saloon and you pretty much have the same idea of what you're doing every time, Cam?
You do, and I think it was our previous match where we saw an Oni match completely spiral out of control in the last like 3 minutes of the match, and a result that seemed to be the one that we were going to see completely got flipped 180, and we were looking at a completely different match in a matter of like a minute. So if you have missed the previous match, I highly recommend you go check it. That was Elysium, I believe. Elysium's match, and it was quite interesting. It really was. Dead Dog Saloon is one of those maps that I cannot get enough of. I feel like it's it's classic. It has that taste of just, it always works. It's always nice to see. It's that one comforting friend that you see every week, and you're like, oh, it's nice to see you.
Absolutely. As DDS is such a it's such a beautiful map. I love the realm that it's in. I hope we get to see with future chapters more usage of that, or just variants of Dead Dog Swim come out, because I think there's a lot of fun potential for other variants of that map. But moving on from Oni, our fourth set, if we get there today, will be Slasher on Greenville Square, a set that is so heavily dictated by the killer player's comfort. Those spears, at times, if the survivors are playing well, could be so hard to hit around stuff. If your killer player can just hit snipe after snipe after snipe, I mean, the game will just snowball perfectly for you.
And as a Huntress player, I am so envious of the small hitbox that allows the slasher to get these crazy snipes and in the smallest gaps, and every hole becomes a possible hit, and it is. I'm very jealous, of that optimization on the hitbox. It makes for some very interesting shots, and as you said, the killer does I mean, again, when the player on the killer does dictate the skill level and so on, but on the slasher you will really see the next level. And you know what, I kind of want to mention that we also have a patch coming up next week, and Judgment is going to be at some point, might be really interesting to see in competitive as well. I'm kind of looking forward to how that's going to turn out, honestly.
Yeah, new killers always have that bit of mystique to them where you don't know quite what to expect. You don't know what teams are really going to lean into them, as really anyone can. It just comes down to the comfort of the players. If you think you have an edge and you've understood the killer a little bit faster than other teams, you might lean into some of those killers as you're trying to get those wins before they quite have that same grasp. But yeah, Slasher then moving to, if we get all the way to that tiebreaker today, going to that fifth set, we will have Plague Torment Creek. I feel like a real testament to just macro play, as Plague really doesn't have any mechanical prowess. There is a little bit in terms of having to hit your vomit on survivors, especially if you have the Corrupt Purge, but overall, it's a testament to push and pull, not giving away infections early on and playing the game super slow, while also getting a lot of gem pressure fast before the killer gets any significant lethality.
Yeah, Plague is also feels a bit of a quote unquote classic set, doesn't it? It's something that we've been seeing a lot over the past rounds. It's quite consistently brought. I feel like teams in general are quite adept on the killer and more or less know how to play against it, know how to play as it, and so it just works out. But hey, listen, honestly, we gotta get there first, right? And this is a best of 5, but it's anyone's guess where the match is gonna go tonight. Is it gonna go one way or another? I listen. I've been known at this point, I want to say, for making the worst predictions. So tonight, as one time, I'm not gonna make a prediction. But, and I know I shouldn't, but as a caster, I kind of have a bit of a preference towards one team. No, I'm joking. I think it's gonna be fantastic no matter who makes it out.
Yeah, no matter what, like Mathis said, it's going to be extremely intriguing to see X9. Wonder if they're tuned into this game tonight, as they're going to see their opponent, maybe see what they're leaning into with this set, the comfort of some of the players, and then also the map bans. More specifically, X9 choosing the maps. It's not even map bans. X9 just gets that advantage in the upper bracket to be able to choose maps. So even if you end up on sets that X9 might view the other team is better at, you could throw some completely left field map at them to try to sway it in your favor. So, I mean, yeah, it's going to be extremely entertaining nonetheless. So, one of these teams is going to have to fight hard today to get to that final, and then probably fight hard, just as hard, if not twice as much, to take down X9 to win the tournament overall.
Being able to choose every map is such a crazy advantage that really I feel like it signifies and it kind of pays off a team for advancing through the higher bracket to that position, right? They have put in the effort, they've gotten those wins, and they are rewarded with such a powerful tool of being able to choose those maps. And as you said, can definitely throw some curveballs at their opponent that they got to be ready for.
But the wait is over. No more of myself and Cam yapping on the mic. We are loading in to trial number 1 currently. Cenobite on Fallen Refuge. Talk about it very briefly while we're loading in. Some stuff that you might expect to see in the set I'm intrigued by is what the build's going to be out of our killers. You're allowed a lot of your kick regression perks, your pop, your eruption. You're assuming corrupt and pain are pretty stock standard for everything. Then you have Rapid Brutality if you want to go for 2 taps alongside your chain. You could have Sloppy Butcher to slow down resets. There's a lot of interesting variants, so I think that might be a crucial factor in this first set.
Yeah, and it's gonna change the way the killers approach the map, and we do see Zaka on the Cenobite. We had mentioned it. We see Thanatophobia, Ruin, Painres, quite the classics, I want to say, but all very consistent perks, which consistency is a bit the name of the game.
Yeah, and also interesting to point out here that we are gonna have, and there it is, front and center, the Engineer's Fang add-on. When we hit a healthy survivor with a chain, we injure them instead of spawning the chains onto them. So, looks like we're going to be going for a bit of a hit and run early on as we switch our targets onto Pedro right now, keeping them zoned, isolated to this edge map as we're double back and forth, just trying to place this chain. Zaka, playing patiently, is going to fire and connect the chain onto Pedro, getting that injured state, just collecting those Thanatophobia slowdowns. But we do have a Jungle Gym pallet. Zaka just going to be forced to break that one now. If we do choose the chain this survivor, it does spawn 1 less chain, but counteract that alongside the impaling wire. If they break chains on objects, that will get them a couple more. So a loss and a gain, but at the major benefit of injuring healthy survivors.
And when you're playing with Thanatophobia, the question is always, are you going to be able to get the maximum value, right? Maximum value being 4 stacks. Every survivor injured, Pedro nearly gets hit there. That was getting out. Okay, never mind. See, I gotta stop talking. But no, that was an interesting choice, I feel like, to leave Dan and just go for a second pressure on Pedro. Yeah.
Now, oh, the pain res right next to the high progress gen. So now we have the Engineer's Fang to be able to injure Spitz, but we're not going to quite be able to connect onto that one instead. I think we're just going to hold our ground, make sure we don't let the unhook go for free, while also ensuring that this gen is regressing from the pain res. But to point out there, we had a little bit of that gen that was guaranteed progress at the end, almost like a brand new part. I think that might have been the specialist. I'm not 100% sure, so we might have searched an item box, but Spitz is going to end up being tagged here, taking that injury. not going to be able to come in for any sort of unhook. It's just Rocket, the healthy survivor, if someone does choose to come in and go for a trade, but not for long, as there is the full Thanatophobia, that 20% slowdown cam.
And that hurts so much. Whenever you're talking Thanatophobia, the 3 stack, you can still manage it. But the full 20% is a game changer. It turns the perk from being consistently and annoying to deal with to being an actual powerhouse, because it is really strong. You pair that down with Pain Risk, and you're going to see a lot of value. We do see Ruin being cleansed though, so that is at least something that they don't have to worry about anymore for the rest of the match. But oh my god, these chains, these cross-chain maps are doing a great work, and Pedro is probably going to be going second stage here. I don't see a trade coming in. Everybody is injured. I think we're trying to get, yeah, he does go second stage. I think we're trying to get some gen pressure, but this is looking pretty bad right now for our survivors.
Yeah, Spit's able to get that health state back due to the moment of glory. We searched the 2 item boxes, like Mathis had mentioned earlier, so we are able to get that health state back, which will allow Spitz to come in and get the trade, giving their life up onto the floor to go for Pedro. Looks like we are just going to take the immediate Pain Res hook to regress whatever generators have some progress right now. But Pedro's going to be able to make a whole lot of distance because of it, all the way towards the shack side, maybe meeting up with Rocket. But Zaka, following in suit, does spot Dan out, but I don't think that's the target we're looking for. I think we're actually going to play to interrupt this reset here.
We are going to do that indeed, and if he finds Predator now, this could be, we might be looking at a very early 3v1, and that is never easy. We see Predator going for a bit of a 50-50, ends up winning it, and as you mentioned, Spitz being able to get that extra heal, let's say, on the go, really made the difference between him being able to unhook Predator and not, because the entire team was injured. Shaq Pallet does eventually come down. Dan is getting some progress. We're about 75% on 1 generator, but it's still 5 gens. Nothing has popped so far.
Yeah, gonna be taking a shame right now, trying to wrap that second pallet that we have the chain to. It's gonna be able to get the drop right now. Zaka choosing not to break, just wants to play both. Will end up cutting their loss and breaking one of them. Pedro, though, setting that distance back towards the shack. Pallet already used those, so not a whole lot of resource for us to find here other than that window that we have. Sending it now. Looks like we might have some support quite possibly coming in. We see Dan, our ace, outside the shack, just lurking around, seeing if they might want to give a hit tank sometime soon. And it looks like that sometime soon might just be now, as Zaka slowly encroaching on this hit. Does Pedro make the cycle? Of Dan is forced to vault into the shack, and now we'll be able to dive in between them and force that M1 hit tank. But Zaka still committing on the Pedro, wants his tunnel out, wants to force 3v1, but these Invictus survivors are keeping the gen pressure up, Cam.
They are. We see one more nearly being completed, and this went from being a 5 gen still up to just 2 in quite a short while. But we still have a very good target on Pedro, who's just playing the 50 game and so far doing great at it, actually. Dan's hit took a lot of pressure off him, and we had a bit of a reset going on Rocket, which also takes away that 20% of Thanatophobia, which you really want to get rid of. It doesn't matter if you got 3 injured, you want to make sure that the 20% is not active. But Rocket taking another hit now, so we're back on it. We're going to have to look at a new reset, because you don't want to push these last 2 gens through it, and nobody's really around to take a hit anymore, so we might be just bloodlusting this, and it will be a first kill on Pedro again. It depends how long is Pedro going to be able to make that last, and dodges great, makes it, and we now have a reset on Rocket, which is going to take 1 more hit, and this chase is lasting a lot longer than it could have been.
Yeah, another injury due to the Engineer's Fang, though. Pedro able to make it back to the TNL. We do make the first vault. Can we win this? We do have a little bit of visibility through the walls, thanks to the tiles not being fully opaque, as Pedro's able to read Zaka's movement and send it to another nearby filler. Are they going to make it, though? It's going to be close. They're sending it all the way to this top side, but maybe not. As you see, Rocket is healthy once again. We are constantly playing for this support, and it is paying out dividends for Invictus right now, as we have Pedro stuck at the opposite side of a pallet. We're going for a chain onto Rocket, doesn't quite connect. Zaka, you need to make a call soon. Do we commit this, or do you just leave? As they are keep getting these resets and keep extending Pedro's life.
I think that Pedro is living in a different timeline right now, because in any other timeline, he's not lasted this long. They did not get as many resets, and Rocket is not there to take 1 more hit, but in this timeline, he is right there. That is 3 hits that he's taken every time they've gone for a reset, and Pedro has been able to get value, make distance, and avoid going down, and it doesn't look like he's going down anytime soon. He just keeps winning every single 50. He's going to force now Another vault potentially? No, goes around. I mean, if he makes this, and okay, we do switch onto Rocket, but are we going to pick up? Okay, we're deciding to. I was about to say we're deciding to pick up Rocket. We're gonna try and guessing to get some pain risk value, but Pedro still alive, and this is still a 4v1.
Yeah. Note, Pedro got unhooked and there was still 5 gens remaining. We are down to 1 and there is another that is pretty close to completed, I'm pretty sure, that Dan was working on. That was almost a 5-gen run from Pedro. Dan will be trading their life basically on hook as they get their rocket save, but the cost of them still being injured. Pedro going to be solving the box across map, but we know we cannot afford to commit to that teleport right now. We need to keep the pressure up for what we can, but Zaka is going to take the gamble and maybe send it across the map. But no, they know that the position is too far. They need to ensure what gens they have, what gens have the progress, and play the defensive stance.
And Dan could have been getting picked up for all we know. Going for the teleport there on the box is kind of risky, but at least we get some pain risk value. That is 4 out of 4 stacks of pain risk, and Pedro is somehow still alive. It's not. We're not looking at the worst gen spread, but the fact that he's still alive is mind blowing.
Spot Rocket here, who's working that top side generator here. Zaka going to be able to take that area possession on the pallet, goes to the chain, but not quite going to be able to connect onto it. Just holding that pallet control, not wanting to give it up to Rocket in the slightest. We're going to probably try to wait and guarantee that we can hit a chain before we end up committing around, but Rocket's got the moves, evading each chain. Zaka's going to full commit around and get the reversal! Rocket zoning the killer to the edge map. Didn't send it in too far though, instead just to stay at this filler pallet, but Dan is coming in now. Another bit of support coming in from Invictus.
Invictus is playing it incredibly well this match. Rocket showing off why he is one of the best competitive Dead by Daylight players, dodging absolutely everything, playing on what would usually be considered an okay loop, but it's not a strong palette. And we do see Dan in now for the hit. Are we going to just commit to Rocket or take that free hit on Dan? I feel like you try to take the free hit, right? You get your 4-stack tunnel, but you can't because Predator has been healed. I missed that. And so and even if you hit Dan, it's not going to give you any value, and we have last gen popping.
Yeah, we've been greeting. We wanted the Engineer's Fang hit, and we finally do connect onto it, but that bought so much time. That final gen pop, you have it reset onto Pedro. Rocket finally going to go down to the M1 of Zaka, but now all gens are popped. This would be our 6th stage overall. If we choose to camp this, it'll be 7 stages for fresh, but I don't feel like Zaka wants that. I feel like Zaka is going to want to go for Dan. We know Pedro is searching the box, so we have a little bit of time. We just need to locate our injured ace.
Tries to go for a long-range snipe on the gate. Unfortunately, doesn't get it, but that was not Dan, I believe, regardless. So Dan right now being the only target, or Pedro. We're back on. I mean, this feels like we're going back in time a little bit. We've seen this chase play out through this match, but now will we see Zaka finally take his revenge? It doesn't look like it, right? His team is right here, ready to take a hit. Spitz doing a reset on Rocket. Rocket does get reset. We've got Dan and Pedro both here. And, okay. We decide to sacrifice Pedro right there for Dan to make it out. That was the best case scenario, especially because Zaka, you don't want to give him more, right? This match is already, I feel, Zaka played off and had an explosive start, and Pedro really put a block to this match for him.
Yeah, and it really comes down to just the chases there, the healing, the supporting. I mean, to touch back on it, the only reason that unhook even came through was Spitz's build. We searched the 2 chests, we got the moment of glory heal after that, for once we finally were injured, and it came through at the perfect time. Pedro was in 2nd stage, and then while Spitz was rotating in, we did not eat the chain. If we ate the chain while rotating in, we can't even get that trade, so Spitz had to dodge it, did successfully, and got the trade on the hook.
I don't even think that Zaka expected something like this to be the play, right? It's such. First of all, not only does he have to have that perk, but it also has to be active, and Spitz played it perfectly. Again, it's not a new player, very experienced player. Yeah, that was very well executed. We can see in the reset now. I think we're going to be looking at very soon what the play exactly was on Spitz, and yeah, that heal making such a massive difference and potentially changing the way this match went, I want to say.
1000%. As we take the trade on hook, but yeah, a lot of Pedro get distance. Everyone was still injured, but then Pedro just lasted in chase as well. Bought a bunch of time to be able to get the resets done, get some gen progress on the board, and what ended up being basically a 4, almost 5 gen chase solely out of Pedro. What an insane individual performance on Survivor.
Truly did, and I think we had two to three resets on Rocket, and one hit being taken by Dan. So a couple of let's say health stages being traded, but as long as the survivor doesn't go down, it doesn't really pay off, right? That's just value that you're getting, and the healing build with Botany was actually maybe worth mentioning. It wasn't Predator, so they didn't even have that to work with. Had he not been the focus, it could have been even longer.
Yeah, Botany Solidarity would have 100% sped up those heals. You can get multiple heals at the same time with Solidarity. That would have been huge. As long as well, Pedro has the Duty of Care, the supporting hit-taking perk that gives you haste. If Pedro were to have taken a hit for someone else in the trial, they would both move a lot faster, be able to make more resources, but Pedro was the survivor that got tunneled, so it didn't end up coming through whatsoever, as Pedro never gained that health state back till the game was practically over.
Very, as you said, very strong individual performance. Very good start for this best of 5 on their side. And here we can see Dan again making taking one extra hit. And yeah, what a great start. I don't think we could have asked for a better chase. And yeah, that was a really long chase, right?
Yeah, it was roughly 4 minutes that Pedro was able to survive, which just bought, 4 minutes of the killer doing no pressuring to gens, only chasing one survivor, breaking pallets, going for chains. The only thing that really slowed them down was just the hit tanks. They went for resets to give health states to Pedro to be able to take these hits to help elongate this just monstrous performance. But the talk on the other side of the coin, Zaka had a amazing start, a absolutely phenomenal start. Got the Engineer's Fang on Pedro edge map, ended up downing him close to that top mid area, had a pain res on the 99 gen that we had a hook on. If this unhook wouldn't have came through, or we got a fast tunnel out, that was looking like it was going to be 4K at high gens. So just the sheer contrast in those of what happened then, it cannot be understated.
No, and Predator dodging that hit on the TNL as well made for this much longer. Again, as we said, great performance. But as I mentioned, Zaka ended up completely disregarding the box throughout the entire match just because he committed to all of these chases and kind of missed on some pressure with that, right? But he was so focused, so in the middle of the action that it didn't make sense for him to do anything else.
Yeah. The mindset of most killer players is if you can force a 3v1, it is a way simpler game for you there. So just hard committed on the Pedro, hoping that they can get something going, get a good chain, get an M1 down, maybe deny a hit tank in some way by getting a really good Engineer's Fang tag, which happened a couple times onto Rocket, but we always just had another filler palette. Pedro just won the 50-50s, and if there's anything Pedro is known for, it's being demonic in the 1v1 chase.
And let's not forget Rocket as well, right? Towards the end, I think Rocket really put up a good performance on his own, holding his own, showing off why he is one of the best competitive players in the scene right now. And we can see that at some point, Zaka just said, you know what, I need to get some pressure. I'm just going to go for the pain rest stacks. And he did, get all 4 stacks, which is not something that you see very often, right? Because sometimes you go for that tunnel out and you see 2, 3 maybe, but going for a single hook on everybody, getting 4 pain rest stacks, that's a lot of regression that you get. And still, that was not enough. The Ruin did get cleansed very early into the game, and that could have helped, especially because, as you said, he was able to interrupt Spitz's then, which was on 98, 99%. It was just, you could barely see the line, and still that pain rest did hit.
Yeah, absolutely is. Just came as so close to call there, but yeah, like you said, we're watching this rocket chase back right now, and I almost forgot that we got the reverse in the corner of the map. There's just so much action in that game that it all started blurring together to somewhat, as there's just so long that Zaka spends here trying to get this chain, going for the Engineer's Fang on Dan so they can deny the support, so they can get the M1 down faster on Rocket. But I mean, we miss a couple of the chains. You almost wonder if would have just been more effective to take the M1 a lot sooner. Go for it once. If you don't connect on it, just take the guaranteed M1. But I mean, you can look back on it all you want now. The game is over. The trial is completed. You just have to put yourself in the best spot now for Elysium on Survivor to be able to take your own set choice.
Yeah, if in butts were candy and nuts, it's easy with hindsight to say, oh, I shoulda, woulda, coulda. But that is the match that we got, and now we're gonna see the other side, I guess, of the coin. It's not the worst win condition, right? I feel like this is doable. We do have what was the total? I think we had seven or eight.
I think it was 7.
7, yeah, hook stages. It's doable. It's difficult but doable.
We are in a pretty stark difference with Bill. Only one perk being the same in terms of actual simul perks. We have the Ruin, we have the Undying, we have the Penton, we have the Wretched Fate, and we also find the box off the rip. So gonna have a good bit of information here as well, as we spot the aura of one of our survivors rotating down the map. I think this is Yvonne, but I'm not 100% sure. It might have also been Xeno, but nonetheless, we are not committing onto them. We're gonna go try to find a different survivor to get this game going during the chain hunt.
And Kexo seems to be the target of choice, and that's who we're going to commit to. As you said, they have the option to go for Yvonne, but decides to change onto Kexo. Does get a hit, very nicely done, and it's been a pretty good start so far. We see Xeno taking care, of the box. We're going to teleport? No, we're not, but we're seeing kind of the same value on this loop right here on this pallet, and again, similar strategy, right? Zach coming in to take a hit, and now it's a question mark. What do we want to do as better?
Yeah, putting a patient there, want to force down that main building pallet. We are going to send it to the nearby double pallet we have. Looks like we're not going to be going for a chain on them just yet. Now that we have the pallets, we are going to try to go for a chain. We have the 2 chains applied. Zaka, though, playing very patient, just making sure that they always have the prompt available to drop the pallet if needed. But looks like Pedro going to be pivoting away, switching over towards Yvonne and Kexo. Not going to be able to connect on the Engineer's Fang hit just yet, but Yvonne sending it down that edge map right now, or David King pulling up the chain one more time. Pedro is going to be able to connect onto this one. That'll be another injury on the board. But a lot of distance gain, though, made it all the way towards the shack side. Splitting now to the gen, looking to see can we find anyone else. Just trying to split this pressure up and get as much on the board.
And we see a lot of hits coming in, but nothing is really connecting right now. We're seeing that first hit coming through, but there is no down. And as I say that, Yvonne is the first one that does go down. It's going to be the first hook that we get. But we also have a very different build, right? This is not Thanatophobia. We're not working to necessarily get all of that value, but we do have Shack. And this hook in Shack is probably going to pay off.
I mean, yeah, Basement as well. We talk about a little bit as well. You said you're a Huntress player. You kind of can play this similar to Huntress. Normally, if you're going to just trade in Basement, you take an M1 at the top of the stairs, you run down, you give your life. But with Engineer's Fang, I almost wonder if you're almost able to do what Huntress does, where you hatch it at the top of the stairs, but extend this time you will be going for an Engineer's Fang tag. Then you can deny the hook trade entirely, but doesn't look like we're actually ending the camp whatsoever. Pedro extending out. We see Kexo stealthing in a locker, probably going to be the survivor that ends up rotating for that unhook. As we see Xeno just collecting these totems, that overzealous value, that counter force is definitely going to be a crucial factor later in this trial if Xeno's able to stay healthy and keep that speed.
Yeah, and as you said, I feel like you can probably end up playing. We see a nice snipe as well that sadly didn't connect on Kexo right there. Zaka's going to be popping the first generator, but Pedro is committed to just playing this Basement. There is no reason why he shouldn't. Gets a fantastic snipe on Kexo, and that makes it so that Kexo is no longer able to just come in and try to get a trade. And he might even be able to disrupt the box, right? It's very daring shot that does connect, and that just delays it. And the longer you're able to delay it, the more value you're able to get. We see Xeno now also taking a hit, and everybody's injured. Anybody going right now for that trade on Ivan in the Basement is not going to be coming out, I can tell you that much.
Yeah, all survivors injured. We do end up popping the second gen. Zaka's able to get that completed. Yvonne on that second stage, though. Survivors, they need to try to get a health state back, or they need to catch a really good timing, and that's exactly what Xeno's going to be able to do. Getting that unhook onto Yvonne in the basement. Though, Xeno, it's very difficult for you to come in and try to help your teammate get up the stairs of the basement while you are injured, as we'll see if they just pivot and take the M1. Yvonne able to weasel past. Xeno is just going to be taking that trade. Will be going down in the basement. As we see, all of our survivors are going to be meeting up, and it's going to be a full reset up above them. But the question is, can we identify this? If Pedro can hear this and get a chain on them early, this could be huge, as we got 2 resets right now.
We did, and we find ourselves in the same situation with Ivan in the basement. Now you got to trade for Xeno, and that is nearly a guaranteed stage, a second stage as well. We do see all of our survivors now being healthy, so they change a little bit the dynamic. They could go trade right, take a hit, and manage to get somebody else in, but yeah, those 7 stages are approaching pretty quickly, and our gens so far, we are in 3 gens. Still pretty, I want to say Pedro is in a really good place right now.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. Getting those health states is definitely a huge moment for Elysium in this trial right now, as it looks like Pedro is just kind of scouting, seeing if they can catch anyone out of position, someone rotating in our face a little bit too much. We are going to see Zaka grab the box and start solving it, but it's going to be all the way on that top side, so it's not worth Pedro to try to teleport or harass in any way. We do spot Kexo, who is playing towards that Hex Totem, trying to maybe get that front in the final Hex Totem with the Wretched Fate, but we end up just not committing onto that too much. We got the injury. It's all we really came for. We are just going to threaten with the chains, but it doesn't look like we're going to be able to get that conversion on it down anytime soon. Xeno ends up slipping to that second stage. We spot now. I think this is Zaka who's pushing down that mid-map, who will be taking an Engineer's Fang tag as well, but Kexo cannot get this totem cleansed, as Zaka is starting to harass the basement right now. I would imagine Kexo is going to be able to get it, but as I say that, of course, we are still holding down the shack while pushing Kexo.
My hands, I'm raising my hands because I am amazed at the value that he is getting right now with those long range snipes, applying so much pressure. Has gotten 2 individual health states out of both of our survivors and made it impossible for them to just run in the basement and get that unhooked. And I think that now we're just going to be capping and making sure that Xeno is the first to die and make that into a 3v1. And right now, Ivan might be able to pop a generator, but Saka and Kexo so far, I've been kept busy on this side of the map and have virtually gotten 0 value for what they've been doing.
Yeah, a little bit interesting to see as well. They had 1 survivor sit the generator, and it was Yvonne who is the obsession, so the Wretched Fate slowing down Yvonne's gen progress. I'm interested to see why they sat them on the generator, considering they are the only one who's working gens currently slowly. But Zaka's going to be survivor coming to Xeno, ending the slip to the afterlife. We'll be going back to that campfire. As we are trying to commit to this down, Zaka able to evade that chain, drop 1 pallet. Pedro, they're just M1 around this. I think they might be able to get this M1 before we get the pallet drop, and yes, they do! Kexo does get a health state back, but I mean, this is 6 stages overall for Pedro. I mean, 2 more and we have the set.
We do, and we see Ivan trying to get rid of that totem, that boon, that hex, I'm sorry, but I don't think that Pedro is going to allow this. I think that we're going to see right now a snipe coming to it, and if not, it's going to be very, very close, and he does actually manage to get rid of it. Okay, I don't think Pedro was expecting, or maybe he saw Kexo and just decided to stick to the chase, make sure that he gets a health state out of it, goes back onto Zaka right now. If he's able to enter Ivan, that makes a 1-for-1 basically impossible. And yeah, I can decide at any point now just to commit to Ivan and make this into a 2v1 on 2 gens left.
Yeah, I mean, the survivors are kind of diving in. They kind of understood the game is over. The early game really snowballed here. The basement, just constantly getting pressured off of these. Pedro was seemingly able to be everywhere all at once in this trial. Just absolutely took over. Getting a 4K at 2 generators remaining. That'll be Invictus taking set number 1 for today.
A masterclass from Pedro in how much value can you get if you're on top of basement and you're just sniping outside with your chains. Well, the answer is very, very much, because that's what we saw. And he kept 2 survivors busy, Ivan being the only one who was running, who was trying to fix generators, but there was nothing that could be done. They just kept trading, and he was just sitting in basement getting the maximum value. Yeah, as I said, a masterclass from Pedro right now.
As I think it also comes down to there, we got the resets, but I mean, just the chases weren't lasting comparatively. You look at the last trial, Pedro and Rocket really were just holding their own individually at every step of the way. We didn't quite have the same heroics come out from Elysium, so have to see where they respond in that following set and talk a little bit about it. That Blight on Shelter Woods 1. It's not normally a traditional set that you would see. Shelter Woods is not really a common comp map anymore anyways. I mean, if you were there back in the day, we're talking 3-4 years ago, you would know that that was the map of Hillbilly, but times have changed. Billy has been pretty set in stone on the Blood Lodge. So I'm intrigued to see where Shelter Woods ends up landing for Blight, excuse me, and how that affects the matchup today.
Yeah, same. And as I said, I always love myself a Blight set, and I know a nurse set, and I know that some people are, oh, we've seen all the Blights, we've seen all the nurses. I find both of the killers still extremely fun to watch. I feel like both, genuinely, especially after Blight got changed from a 4.6 to a 4.4 killer, I feel like we are now being able to see the difference between a top masterclass player and someone who's just really good. And you might be saying, oh, Cam, but really good is still very good. Of course it is. But when you put you put a tier above, some of the bump logic that these players come up with is incredible.
Yeah, 100% is. It's the quick thinking, the fast responses, the mechanical prowess to be able to convert some of these flicks fast around some of the Rockefellers, which you're going to see plenty of on this map. I have absolutely zero idea in terms of how you play around main building. That'll just be something that I have no idea about. I've played pubs on Blight, but I mean, those 99% of the time, the survivors that you get in pubs aren't playing very effective in any sense. So it's not really too difficult as long as you have a pretty fast response time. So I'm intrigued to see how the killers end up choosing to counteract some of the filler palettes and some of the windows you have around the main building here.
Yeah, is Blight something that you yourself play very often?
I play a decent bit of Blight. It's in my top 3 to 5, I'd say.
Okay, and do you think that throughout the years he stayed, and I'm now going to switch from like a fun point of view. I still feel like, years later, the people that play him regularly still have a blast playing him. And I think that that's also such a cool part about DBD, right? It's finding a killer that after years, you can still learn new tricks, you can still learn new techs, and you can still get fun with.
Yeah, absolutely is. Blight has always still scratched, the Blight player itch was always still scratched of go fast. No other killer goes quite as fast and as good as Blight. Billy does go fast, but you have so much less control comparatively. Blight just feels like the fast killer. You want to go fast, you play Blight. And I mean, that's what we'll have to see today is Shelter as well. Not really that small of a map. The gens could be pretty spread out. You sometimes get a gen set up around the main building area, but it's not really the best historically. So I'm intrigued to see if we won't even go for a tunnel or something, and we'll just play full chase, try to zone and isolate survivors called out on gens.
I think the build is going to dictate a lot of how they decide to play this. We're probably going to see the usual suspects when it comes to the build. The strong, consistent slowdown perks. But as you said, it's going to be interesting to see what approach they take to the map. And you mentioned Billy as well. I hope that you never have to watch me play Billy or Blight, actually, because it feels like, and the moment I start off, I just end up in Narnia. It's a different planet that I'm reaching.
That is so fair, but unless we are loading in and just about to be there into trial number 3, set number 2 overall, Blight Suffocation Pit. We'll still have the same people, Kexozaka, Tech, and Xeno from Elysium. We'll have Pedro on the Blight for Invictus. Yeah, like you said, pretty common suspects you'd imagine in terms of perks. The Corrupt, the Pop, the Eruption, Wretched Fate. Not the most common thing to be allowed in the Blight set, but today it is, and I mean, it makes complete sense. It's just good passive slowdown.
It is, and that is a little bit what we've seen as the meta. I want to say in the last 2 years, not a lot has changed about it, but we do have that. Wow, I'm eating my words because that went so fast. That went so fast, so quickly. Can we see a follow-up? No, but Zaka taking the first chase and getting injured very, very quickly. Then again, it's Blight, and as you said, speeds go very fast. We see a bit of a mind game going on. Is he able to connect this? Does not. Zaka is not able to. Is he strapped? He's strapped.
Yeah, Pedro swinging in a way that he will not get auto-aimed onto the pallet for the break, trying to maybe hit Zaka if he vaulted over. Zaka did not vault, instead crouched in the corner to make sure he was not hit by the shoulder flick, and it got punished by getting body blocked and stuck in the corner. Could not run away, could not vault the pallet. I mean, yeah, what a way for Pedro to start this trial, getting a very early first hook. Sounds like we might be on Zeno roughly, but Zeno has the pallet of the 4 lane, but Pedro making a beeline back, expecting some sort of fast unhook, but nobody in sight just yet.
No, what an explosive start from Pedro, showing some very quick decision making to try to angle his swing in a specific way to trap the survivor is a next level thinking on the spot. I really have. I'm amazed by that. And now we have a hook in the middle. We have gems around the middle. We have eruption. There's a lot that can be applied to secure this area right now, and we have to make something happen on the survivor side. Taking the chase, but that is going to be a trade, I believe. 1 for 1. Yeah, it does go for the 1 for 1 down on tech, but we're still going to stick to Zaka. Zaka making the shack and is going to be able to get. Okay, so he does make endurance. He's endurance period. Pre-drops the pallet and tries to make some distance, but Zaka is in no way safe right now.
Yeah, not in the slightest here. Because we do have a filler pallet that we did drop earlier. Pedro not going to be able to get the break on that one. Zaka sending it to the shack. Actually, will be able to get the drop on that pallet. Is going to be able to vault back and go to the filler pallet that they just played. Now, what does Pedro do in this situation? We have this pallet. Do we end up just cutting the loss and breaking it? Yes, we do. Zaka already used that sprint burst. Did not get the reset from the resurgence. Does have the resilience to be able to play, so has a little bit of help from a perk at least. Is Pedro just playing around the Zaka, trying to wrap it by as much time as possible, but some good bump logic to zone Zaka away is going to be perfect from Pedro, as that'll be the second down on this survivor, but Tech going to be popping the first generator in the meantime.
And Zaka is the one target you don't want to get targeted right now, because he is a shoulder to burden player. He is the one that would allow a teammate to potentially delay that first kill and prevent that 3v1 situation. We see Champion of Light coming down, but a kick, last one I believe that was on the kick on the gen. Might have been, I believe, last mine. Does get the Populous Weasel hit on it though, applies eruption as well, and now we find ourselves having our hook in the middle of a whole generator setup. I don't know how you take this match back.
I think you realistically are just hoping that you unhook Zaka, someone's going to trade their life, maybe it's a Breakable Survivor, maybe it's someone else. But someone eventually is going to have to trade their life from Zaka. It is way too early to have a death in this trial. And you just have to hope Zaka has a chase. You have the sprint burst field to make it to a resource. Tech gets reset, so I would imagine it's going to be Tech we're going to see coming in sometime soon for this unhook. As Pedro just playing it slow, guaranteeing, yeah, holding this grounds. If they come in for this unhook, Pedro will see you and will be able to tag you. Thing is, though, it's getting quite close. They might not even be able to get a trade in soon. This might be body blockable, but no, we don't quite make it. Tech is going to be taking that M1, but we don't even take the trade. We instead just hit the base kit endurance of Zaka, so we might even see some support coming in as Tech now going to be taking that M1. But behold the pallet control. We have, I think that was Kexo here as well to be able to help us as we wrap around the jungle gym. We're trying to see where does Pedro want to go. Rushing now. Don't think we're going to quite make it. As no, we don't. We die in front of the window. We have Kexo here, but I mean, Kexo has a toolbox in hand. There's nothing you can do to support, so we're just going to try to get our teammate off the ground and play this 3v1.
We do see 40 people coming into play now. The question is, are we going to be able to make it out here? Hexa choosing a very nice A. Oh my god, what a crazy tech, actually. Preventing the bump from Better right here with the flashlight. Such a good play, and yes, Kexo did, I believe, try to 40 people on Zaka, but wasn't able to, and that was very unlucky. But Predator is stuck and was very close by, but it's a 3v1 situation now, and that is never positive.
Now getting the injury on Zeno, but getting flared as well means we're going to be in kind of a rough spot here. We end up going for a v1 tech onto Kexo, but Kexo was knowingly sent it away. We're going to be able to get the life vault off the 4-lane window, making it back to that pallet, but isn't really that safe. We ended up wrapping her on the outside. Kexo tried to double back, but does not make it there in time, so we'll end up on the floor. But wow, we're slugging this out. We're trying to maybe see if we can defend these gens. Tech and Xeno splitting up on them, just trying to get as much progress on the board as possible. I think this is Tech who we're going to spot here at the nearby filler pallet, bumping around this, going for the flick. Doesn't quite connect onto Tech, but we'll be able to make it to the nearby maze tile as Xeno sitting on the gen, not rotating. Does tell me, did Kexo get the plot twist off before the down actually came through? I do not know.
I don't think so, but if he did, this would be an incredible play. Absolutely. Honestly, we see Tech taking the chase, and so far he is the one that is doing his best. Kexo did not manage to get the plot twist in time. It would have been such an insane play, but I believe that Xeno just decided to stick it to the gens. And first hit coming on to Tech. Now, honestly, I feel like you just go for gens right now. You try to make this. I don't think you're gonna be able to get anything better than a 4K2 if you're lucky.
And I think that's exactly what our serve team is opting to do here. Xeno, we already see, is going to be able to pop that second turner of the trial. Tech evades that down, so no eruption exploding anything just yet. Now we have the information of what our survivor team is doing. Sorry, they're committing to that. Kexo probably crawled their way after getting full recovered. They're going to force the grab out of this locker, so I would imagine Xeno's going to be picking up Kexo pretty soon. And yes, it looks like we are making a beeline for that survivor on the floor. Now they need to split up. Pedro should have a decent idea of where they are. It sounds like that tear radius is increasing right now. Who are they going to go for?
I think we're going to go for Xeno right now, which is the best case scenario, because Kexo is just going to try to stick it to the gen, and if he managed to, I think this is you're looking at the best case scenario. Tech is now taking Kexo's spot on the ground and is counting the blaze of grass, and yeah, Pedro being incredible tonight, all around, just doing fantastic. Xeno not able to connect. Kexo has to rotate to pick up Tech, and yeah, we're back on. Just taking turns at who's counting the grass.
Yeah. Pedro's going to be waddling back towards the pickup right now, trying to spot the survivor out. We saw the pickup did come through right now. We do spot Kexo, who has the plot twist, so we need to see, can the survivor, if we can get the plot twist off in this chase before we get M1 down, and it could be huge because we're going to be basically forced. Pedro cannot afford to let that reset come through, as it doesn't look like Tech is sticking to the gen. Instead, is going to be getting the pickup on their teammate Xeno. And the plot twist does come through right there, so now Pedro knows you have to kind of pick this up. You do know, though, that no generator is currently being stuck, as the pickup did just come through onto Xeno, so have a little bit of peace of mind in that regard. But it looks like we instead are just going to be getting the pop goes the weasel on this gen, applying eruption, and I would have to assume we're going to be doing similar things to other gens nearby.
And the problem is that the problem for Pedro is that Kexo right now is the DS holder, but he's also the obsession. So you probably expect it. So how are you going to be able, as Kexo, how are you going to be able to, well, either bait it right and try to buy yourself some time, or you're going to plot twist and just get your health state back. Either way, you are going to get some value, and that's what it's all about right now. Tech did reset himself. Xeno is on the run. We see, oh, okay, what a play. Kexo says, no, you shall not pass, and just puts a stop to Pedro's chase right there. And that is probably the best value he could have gotten. Goes down with plot twist, but Pedro is not even switching back, knows what this plot twist is for, and does not want to go through that. But we do see a sneaky blind with Champion of Light, buying a little bit of extra time. No. I thought I was hoping.
Xeno ends up on the floor. Kexo with a beautiful body block there. The Knight in Stranger Things armor to protect Xeno a little bit longer. Now gets the Plautus up. We'll have that health stay back to use, as Pedro's going to be making her way back, looks like, towards Xeno, as we might actually pick this up and collect the hook stage, it appears. As, yeah, we're just going to take the pick. Tech we see sitting on the gen. Xeno is not our Deliverance survivor, so I would imagine we're going to see Kexo possibly play for this unhook, unless they're just choosing to split the gen and, like you said, play for that 4K2.
I think that right now, that is their best get. Does get spotted. Tech does get spotted before he's able to go for it, and that is very unlucky, because he's most likely going to get tagged. Does get overcome, but is not going to be able to get value. Just decides to go for the Deliverance, but are we going to commit to him? I'm not sure that Pedro right now wants to do this, but if he doesn't, then hey, Unbreakable says hi.
I'm a little surprised there to see Xeno kind of ran back into Pedro there, as we took the M1 on the base kit Endurance, which was a bit risky considering we have the Dead Hard on Xeno, I'm pretty sure. So we maybe could have tried to make a play to extend our life, but this Kexo is coming in for the pickup right now. Pedro is coming back, but we do get the down on the tech once again, and now Kexo and Chase, the last survivor standing. I think Tech had already used that Unbreakable earlier in the trial, so doesn't have that second chance in their pocket. Instead, we're just going to be committing on the Kexo right now, who's wrapping around the main building, does get the life out the window, so it makes a pretty good bit of distance, and will still end up in an M1. Pedro has the bump logic to be able to convert onto these as we're trying to pick Xeno up, as we don't quite get the swing, but I mean, look, we're both stuck in this situation now.
We are, but a little bit of greed taking over Pedro here. I think that we still have the Unbreakable intact. We should be able to pick up Kexo if Xeno is able to... Never mind. I was about to say, if Xeno is able to last, to make this little chase last a little bit longer, but no, I think the survivors here have decided that this is the end of their match, and 4K3 is going to be a result. Pedro with an outstanding performance throughout everything we've seen so far.
What a performance. Invictus moving up to, taking that set. No, this is trial number 1 of this. My mistake. I thought for some reason that was the second half. But we are going to be able to take into another game here, but I don't know. What do you think we should do here, Cam? Like, what do you think the other team needs to do?
The other team needs to do gens. I feel like that has to be your main priority. Even if you're gonna leave, even if you sacrifice someone right now, if you're able to get those 3 first generators, maybe you'll double one and you go for a solo one. But it's 4K3, right? 4K3 on Blight, totally possible.
Yeah, I mean, Pedro could do. We technically could see it on the other side as well. It's really just going to come down to kind of heroics in Chase there, as you need to have such a mechanical game that you saw come out of Pedro there. And I mean, hey, Xeno's been at the top of this game for as long as they have.
I was about to say, if somebody can do it, Xeno can do it, right? I think we both believe that. But also, we are going to be taking a bit of a caster break right now, and we're going to be back with you guys very shortly, so don't go anywhere. We're just going to take a couple of minutes of a quick break, and we'll be right back with you guys.
Alrighty, we are back in. Yeah, to talk about that, I mean, Cam, that was really just another masterclass out of Pedro. Pedro's 2 for 2 on the day, I'd say, in terms of killer performances.
He is. I am eager to see what he's going to show us tonight on the next set, because so far he has been. If I had to vote, I don't know. I don't think we do that very often, right? We don't like kind of decide on an MVP. But so far, if I had to call out an MVP for tonight, it would be him without a doubt. He has been incredibly performing. He's been performing incredibly. There we go. That's a little bit better.
Yeah, I mean, setting himself up in a very good position to have 2-0 on this. Going to be putting Elysium, if that happens, in just such an uncomfortable way. Forcing you have to reverse sweep us. You cannot just like try to play to take your own set, and then it doesn't matter about our set choice. As typically, especially among top teams, you choose a set that you're most confident in, and that you might think that the other team isn't quite as confident in. So, I mean, we'll have to see where things pan out in that regard, but and we're getting that lobby set up. Gonna be Xeno piloting the Blight, gonna have a extremely tall task ahead of them. As, I mean, is there anything you think special that Xeno can do?
I was asking myself, how do you, first of all, I know that these are experienced survivors, right? And experienced players in general, let's say. But how do you go into this set mentally? That I feel like that is already a challenge by itself, because you know that the task ahead of you is monumental, to say the least. And in all of it, I kind of want to also point out the fact that we ended up chasing the one shoulder target. Like, you had 3 other people that would have been fine losing, but that was the one target they did not want to lose.
That's the luck of the draw. You pretty much know who your decisive strike survivor is going to be, so you generally choose to avoid that. Then you don't commonly see those comboed alongside the Deliverance or the Shoulder the Bird in this, so, I mean, realistically, if you're chasing one of the 3 other survivors that aren't the Obsession, you have a 2 in 3 shot of hitting a pretty valuable perk overall and not having to deal with it in the trial, and it just so happened, I think, to be Shoulder that game, so nonetheless, we are loaded into trial number 4. The second half of our Blight set on Suffocation Pit 1. Xeno on the Bite. We'll have Pedro, Spitz, Rocket, and Dan on the Survivor side of Invictus. And looks like we're just going to see if we can get a fast tag. And Pedro already starting things off with a stun and blind on the Xeno.
I mean, yes, I am. Sign me up for this. This is exactly what I was hoping. I was about to tell you, imagine if the first survivor that he finds is Pedro, is he going to commit to it? And it doesn't look like we are. I feel like at this point, they've just decided, you know what, leave him alone, just focus on somebody else, because he's not losing anything tonight.
Interesting thing to point out, though, we have a bit of a unique perk. We didn't play the Wretched Fate that we saw Pedro play in the previous shot. We have the Languid Touch, so whenever a survivor disturbs a crow, they get exhausted for a couple seconds, which could be huge, especially with how crucial exhaustion perks are in this set, like your Dead Hards, your Lights, your Balanced Landings, your Sprint Burst if you have it 99.
I think this is such an interesting. First of all, what a down onto Rocket. Well done to Xeno. Very fast start, and does get unlocks Pop and Eruption quite quickly into this match. But also, Languid Touch is a perk that I'd love to see this. As you said, Exhaustion is such an important part of the Survivor gameplay that having something that is just able to disrupt that is extremely underpowered, I think. Underrated, there we go, sorry, not underpowered. I was advocating for it. I think it's a really cool addition to see.
They're just playing defensive right now. Gonna go back to that hook. We spotted Dan out. I do not know that Dan may be the Deliverance, though. We're instead just gonna take the Pop and Eruption onto this gen nearby. And no eyes on who is close here. We don't spot that survivor. Instead, we're gonna be rushing away one more time, heading towards where we last saw Dan. And the question is, do we spot them? I think we did over top the window, so we have some information of where that survivor is. Rocket's still on that hook, though. No one is coming in close, it seems like, for the pull anytime soon, as Dan is the Deliverance survivor, so I have to imagine they're playing for that pull. Is Dan actually going to be taking that M1? Rocket does get pulled by a different survivor here, but we're choosing to commit on the Dan here, as we're trying to bump around this. As do we make it one or more around the shack? Goes to the flick, doesn't quite end up converting on that, though. Dan able to make it to the safety of the other side of the pallet.
That would have been such an important hit, and the moment you're on the shack, you know that you're at least going to get value, right? The shack pallet, it cannot be played around, or at least for most killers, it cannot. But Dan, making quite a bit of distance, yeah, Xeno's at a good start. You know what? If somebody can make it, is Xeno, but Dan just sneaks and gets a very sneaky volt, and it makes it all the way through, and Xeno has to switch target. This is, okay, I was about to say Xeno is at a great start, but now we're looking at a pretty dicey position.
Yeah, we're going to try to find out difference of it. Maybe if we can get eyes on Rocket again, we can kind of pivot back to that tunnel out angle, but it's been so long, so Rocket is probably long gone. Doing a generator across the entire map. We do have a little bit of progress here, so we know someone is around here, but we have no idea where they are. Xeno just swinging around the edge map, knowing they almost need a miracle hit to be able to connect onto someone here. That'll be the second gen popping. That is the tie condition, if I'm not mistaken, but I mean, all survivors healthy. It is such a difficult position right now for Xeno.
One more generator, and that will be the win condition met, and we only have one hook so far. I don't think that even Xeno, a titan of a player, is going to be able to stop this.
And behind the TNL right now is going to be able to make it around the wall, but I think maybe taking a hit. Actually, no, we had the sprint burst 99, so we didn't quite get that there. Xeno went to bump on the edge of the T-wall, but barely didn't quite get the curvature to be able to connect onto that. Will be rushing out around the L-wall, though Dan already made it pretty close to the shack right now. Going for the flick on the window, but Dan able to make it over just in the nick of time, as Xeno's going to be forced now to play shack. I think the pallet is still up, though, so Dan has a decent bit of resource to play here. 1 vault, 2. We rush outside the shack. We're going for a flick on the window. Do we connect on the Dan? Yes, we do. And now, taking that hit to a nearby Godrock, it's going to be a little bit intriguing to see, as actually we don't have this Godrock pallet, did not spawn in, so that'll just be a quick 2-rush on the Dan to get an eruption explosion on all the gens.
That is one more gen for the win condition to be met, and I don't think that you can pick up, because if you pick up that last generator who is being currently doubled is going to pop. And you know what? Dan is actually one of the players that I've met in my pub games, and let me tell you this much, I got whooped hard. It was not a fun experience. So Dan is not the one that you want to be chasing. You will have a very bad time, but you got to do what you got to do. And so Xeno is giving it his best, tries to go for a swing, hoping that somebody is playing the pallet, but nobody is there.
And we see a separate gen being split up by Pedro either way, so even if Xeno chooses to pretty much camp that generator out, we still have another gen across the map that's getting decent progress on it. Spit's now going to be Survivor and chase our Ada Wong as we're committing on them towards the main building, breaking that filler pallet. Do we make it around to this pallet? I think we do, and that gen is going to be complete, as I think, if I'm not mistaken, that would be it, as we take the tag on the Spits. But Xeno knows the win con is over. They do not care to play it out any longer, which is incredibly fair. So either way, Invictus taking it 2-0 right now. Just what a match so far.
Yeah, if you release him right now, you end this match and you have to try to mentally reset, right? It's still doable, but you can no longer afford any mistakes. This is the line that you have to be able, as an experienced player, an experienced team, to mentally switch off and say, okay, you know, it was a warm-up kind of situation. From now on, we're locked in. We got this. We're not going to make any mistakes, because if we do, then that's it.
For the people survivor, so Zaka won't be getting the FDP, but maybe the firecracker coming through. Focus we get the firecracker.
Who has the cracker? Good setup. We're done. And one for the big promise. Such a big promise.
Mathis, what was that, Mathis? Why are we interrupting our amazing analysis with is that a trailer?
That wasn't supposed to happen. Anyway, guys, just continue. What were you talking about again?
Well, we're talking about how Invictus is just in such a good position right now. They are up 2-0 on the set. We're going into Oni on Dead Dog Saloon. It was Elysium set choice, so I mean, pretty confident. Obviously, we know Zaka has historically been one of the best Onis, if not the best Oni in comp. So, I mean, you'd have to be pretty confident, but on the counterpoint, Elysium, it's going to be an extreme uphill battle right now. You cannot afford any more mistakes in sets. As you need to take the Oni, Slasher, and Plague set to advance that grand finals.
Okay, so we're just gonna ignore everything that happened and the fact that that play. Okay, sure. I mean, if we're all on board with ignoring that, okay. Yeah, we were saying that Elysium has to lock in for every single match that is coming now, and yeah, I hope the Mathis can give some more information at some point because, as he said, that's not supposed to happen. However,
maybe at the end of the stream, everybody.
All right, that is the deal. So stay tuned with us until the end of the stream and you'll find out more. But getting back Cyber to our analysis, have you ever found yourself in this position? Have you ever found yourself on the receiving end of like a difficult start in a bit of a tournament and you've had to mentally reset yourself? I think it's one of probably the most underrated qualities for a competitive player is the ability to just go fresh, just ignore everything else, just tell yourself, what happened, we try to do our best.
I, funny enough, have. I have been in a situation where it was in a best of 5, and we went down 0-2. We tied to the third set. We tied to the fourth set, where I wasn't in the actual trial, and I made the decision as a captain because we didn't fully understand the scoring system of this event, to fully lie to my team. I lied and said we won because I wanted to build that mental. I wanted to build that energy back up. As you're down 0-2, you just tied the third set. It was pretty dire straits at that point. The mental wasn't all there, the energy wasn't there, but hey, you just took a set, you got the snowball rolling. We took the fifth set, we replayed the other set, got that, and then I told them, hey, wait, actually it counted as a tie for some reason, and we replayed, and we had that mental fortitude, and I think it's all just about staying together and staying cohesive as a team.
So it's not a takeaway for today. Just lying is good, and if your team is down in a tournament, you should just lie to them and tell them that they won. Is that our takeaway, Cyber?
I mean, I can't say it wasn't an effective strategy as it worked for my situation, but I mean, I feel like it is a crucial part of that strategy is having the rest of your players not understand how the format works, and being the only person who did in that situation, I was able to omit some information for the benefit, and we won.
The greater good kind of situation where you have to look at the greater good.
We won that day, and that's all that mattered.
And that's what people remember. Very true. So hey, if anybody, anyone who's watching us finds himself in this situation, please lie to your team and then come back to us and let us know how it worked out, because we'd love to know, right? At this point, I'm kind of committed to the follow-up. But we are loading up onto our next match. What do you think we're going to see here?
Oni, Dead Dawg, Saloon. It really comes down to that open, I feel like. Oni always has that potential if you give a lot of powers, that snowball ability. It's the M1 chase though. You have Shaq guaranteed position. You have a lot of the fillers in the gallows area with the wagon, a number of them to chain to, especially with this being a same ping matchup. A lot of those fillers are a decent bit safe. You have the main building, which is always playable. Well, I'm intrigued to see if our killer players end up going towards Bamboozle, a very common perk to try to cut off that main building somewhat, to isolate those windows and not make it as strong of a tile as it is. You have a little bit of RNG variance with the building side around the water tower, where if you can get jungle gyms over there, some of the other strong window tiles, it could be extremely potent to be able to play, or if you just get stuck with some of the not so strong stuff and some weak filler placements, I mean, it could technically get you in a little bit more of a sticky situation on Survivor, but I mean, overall, this map is very consistent, and I think it's just going to come down to game plan early on and not messing up any check spots.
Yeah, and as you said, some of these southeast loops are extremely strong. You mentioned water tower. I know that is for one that I particularly hate having to deal with, but you really have quite a few fillers. And then, of course, you've got the main building, right? You never want to chase somebody over there. It's unless you're probably in power and you see an opening, but the main building on this map has consistently stayed throughout the evolution. I want to say an actual nightmare for at least most killers.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, an actual nightmare would be Freddy Krueger. Just hate to spoil that for you, Cam, but
all right, point taken.
Loading into trial number 5, set number 3, Oni, Dead Dawg, Saloon. Like we said, it'll be Elysium on Killer first. I think if I'm not mistaken, I saw it was Zaka who will be piloting the Oni for us today. And then I didn't quite see the survivors of Invictus that ended up being in the lobby, but I'm sure it'll be mostly the usual names that we're seeing. Yes, it will, as we are in now. Spitz, Pedro, Rocket, Dan, the normal faces that you're always used to seeing. Is Zaka has an interesting build. We did not go in for Bamboozle, but we went for another window blocking perk, the Hex Crowd Control. So a very strong Hex build, Ruin, Undying, Crowd Control, Eruption. So I don't hate this, but I am a little worried not seeing Corrupt or Pain Res here.
You are missing that, especially if they're able to find Ruin, which these survivors know exactly where to look at. But the question is, can you get crowd control value? And we see it happening right now, and that is why crowd control is so strong, because it is allowing you to block these otherwise extremely annoying to deal with vaults. But we already see Rocket on a Hex right now, so question on what that's gonna happen. Is that the first one, or we've seen already one go down? But that might be the first one, right? Yeah, I think it might be.
I think that's the first, yes. We had Dan and Chase off start. Spitz is starting with Generator, Rocket cleansing a Hex. Pedro is currently in Chase. So we're just collecting that power right now. We are seeing if we can get this M1 down. Zaka's not fully absorbing the blood. We have Bloodlust 1 now to be able to play, as now we have it, but we have a pretty safe palette overall. Looks like we did end up choosing the Greeted, I think, and wrap around this tile, but Zaka already has Bloodlust 1. It's going to be close. We get the Bloodlust 2 and go for the swing. Yes, we do, but not fully through the palette. We don't want to risk getting stunned and losing any Bloodlust. I think we spotted Spitz there, who was working the generator around the backside of the building. Here's Pedro actually coming quite close to their teammate. A little bit interesting choice here is we have the power in hand, so if we choose to pop it, in which we are, this could lead to a bit of a snowball if we get Spitz fast and can still pivot back to Pedro.
Yeah, and we did see 2 being cleansed, by the way. We see a chemical trap coming down from the Spitz. I think that was it. What a play, buying himself quite a bit of time. Does manage to get to the next pallet, and that chemical trap is actually really annoying. Do we see a nice flick from Zaka, though, which will be the first down on Spitz, and 1 power equal 1 down. Do we want to get more value? I don't think so. We want to get our build going and get as many health states as we can from straight away. We expected from Rocket, a little bit of a pain res. Rocket should be able to get that over with. I don't think that Zach is expecting Rocket to be fixing that right now.
Yeah, we are in Chase once again with Pedro, who did get a reset while we were hooking Spitz, so if we do take an M1, we will be getting a large chunk of power and not going down just yet. We did leave a number of blood orbs on the map, though, from when we were chasing Pedro previously, so although we don't have the power in hand, if we save enough of them on the map, even if we don't get a hit, we will be able to collect the power eventually. And now, Spitz just being camped out here first, and it does end up popping. Like you said, Rocket was able to get that first gen complete. And it looks like we're going to see Pedro actually coming in quite close, possibly following Zaka to maybe go for an unhook behind our back, as we're just holding that last blood orb around the hook, I think, just to try to see if we can maybe bank that power and pop it if the server pushes in a little too close.
Yeah, and 2 gens, 2 hexes were cleansed in the meantime, which means that we only have Eruption and Crowd Control left. Undying and Ruin have both been taken out. We see a bit of a trade from Pedro and Spitz, making distance. Okay, this is not the worst case scenario, but you're also seeing Rocket working at a second generator. I know Gallows was being worked as well. I'm not sure to what progress, but yeah, Survivor's doing a fantastic job at macroing the map right now.
And we're going to be committing around the main building here. Onto a Survivor who's going to make it, or actually not make it over the window. I forgot. That was crowd controlled earlier in this trial. So Rocket going to be kind of left out to dry, as we were not able to vault over that window in time. And now with the slug, we're going to be heading back. Do we get this in time? I don't quite think so. So we're going to be in a very good spot right now for Zaka, as we can kind of camp the hook while also having a slug on the ground. But we want more. Zaka venturing out towards the gens is still making sure they stay within a certain radius of this unhook. But, I mean, yeah, the Survivors, they're kind of in a position where they can't really afford to work gens. They have to play for the pickup and unhook at the same time.
They do, and well done to everybody for not getting found out, because if Dan or Spitz had been found in that situation, that would have been an absolute disaster for them. But we do see Dan coming in for the unhook.
Just going to be holding on to Pedro here, trying to make sure we stay as close to them. They have that basic endurance, 15 seconds off the hook now, so we're just counting now. Zaka trying to wait until they can get this M1 down. Bloodless 1's already going to be gained, though, so he's going to have a little bit better time wrapping around the solar pal. Pedro going to finally be forced to drop it, as we're taking one more cycle. It's going to be close, though. Does Zaka go for the swing? They do not. Setting it to the nearby pallet as well. Pedro, though, just being patient, doesn't want to risk dropping this too early. But Zaka has the patience as well, not swinging through it too early, but finally does what Pedro with a greed. Gonna be able to make that shack window. Crowd control is not gonna be blocking it there. I think we might have actually cleansed the crowd control. I didn't quite notice if we did, and I think, yeah, we must have in the meantime. I didn't quite hear that totem pop, but I mean, this is a very good position now for the survivors. No M1 down given. A lot of time was bought there by Pedro.
What did they feed him today? Because he is absolutely showing off in every single play he's done tonight. I am not going to say I'm shocked because he's a great player, but I'm okay. I gotta shut up. I honestly gotta shut up and I gotta stop jinxing. But no, Pedro has been fantastic at every single play. We see a chemical trap coming down from Spitz, which would buy him quite a bit of time. And do we see a nice flick from Zaka? You said Oni and Zaka goes well together, and Zaka showing us why that is getting 2 downs here, and that is quite a bit of pressure, especially because Rocket and Dan are across the map, I believe, getting generator progress, which is a good thing, but at the same time, you now have to rotate somebody before he gets his second hook. Or, you know, Zaka is most likely going to be camping boat.
Yeah, we do end up dropping Pedro here, so I think we spotted Dan around the edge of this tile, so Dan's going to be pushed away. We are going to be forced to probably have Rocket come in as well. This needs to be a double save to some degree. As Spitz on hook, Pedro on the ground. We did drop Pedro, though, so it's going to be a little bit more difficult if we do choose to end up trying to hook that survivor while they're slowed. We're going to kick the water tower pallet, but does still have the chemical trap on it, so we are going to have that 50% hinder for just a little bit. But I'm looking around trying to scout where have Dan gone. We spotted Rocket now in the shack door, but we haven't seen Dan since the initial spot we were carrying Pedro. Dan could be getting quite a bit closer. We're absorbing these blood arms, so we cannot let this unhook on Spitz go for free. We cannot venture too far out, and it looks like Zaka's keeping that peace of mind right now, just trying to make sure, keep looking back. Where is Dan? Where are they? Going for the unhook. It looks like Rocket's going to end up being the one who's sending it in for the hook trade, as it won't be Dan, as now Rocket will end up and take their turn on the floor, as it doesn't look like we're going to fully commit onto this. And actually, yes, we are. I was mistaken here, Cam.
Yeah, we are going to commit to Spitz right now. He is the only one who can die. Do we see a flick? You know, we see the shot pellet coming down. And we see a blind as well with Champion of Light, just making sure that Zaka is that much a little bit slower. Spitz winning the 50, and yeah, that was a difficult position in which to be in, because if anybody got the hook and you're not able to keep an eye on Spitz, you are never seeing him for the rest of the match. That man is going to be gone, and gone very far away. Spitz playing Shack just extremely well. We saw maybe a bit of an attempt at a head-on right now, but Zaka manages to sneak by, but does not manage to get Spitz, and we are going to be... Are we committing still? Are we Ludo? We are staying on Spitz right now, and he does eventually end up getting it. A bit of a 50-50 on the pallet, but well, I feel like that was probably the best choice. It is a 3v1, and you usually want to make that happen as soon as you can.
Yeah, absolutely. Here is trying, like you said, force that 3v1. We've had someone working a gen this entire time. It looks like they're going to try to double up here. I think we're going to have Pedro possibly try to bait, see if we can goad Zaka into committing for us. But no, Zaka is well aware of it. They're sending it to that gen that is being doubled. We're getting the reset atop here. Question is, though, only one survivor can bounce landing. We hear the drop come through from Rocket. Dan is going to be a little bit more greedier with the position as they have the bounce landing equipped. So Rocket's just going to be holding this, playing safe, making sure they don't get mind gamed or cut off, but will be spotted around the backside of it here. As we're just absorbing the blood orbs, seeing if we can try to get another power online before this trial comes to a close to maybe snowball one more time.
Yeah, I think right now the best case scenario would be getting either Rocket or Dan, but I don't think that's going to be possible. Rocket did end up using his light, made quite a bit of distance toward the water tower, but we might have lost him. The gate has been open, and you can imagine that either Dan or Rocket are going to be coming in, and Pedro is going to be coming in to try to take it down instead of Rocket, and Dan is probably not going to, because hey, it's power, it's a one shot anyway.
I think Rocket just ran past Zaka. I don't think... I could be wrong about this. I want to watch it back after. Oh, we do end up finding Rocket once again. I think when we ran the fog vial, Zaka dashed through the tile. Rocket, I think, ran at us, but because of the fog vial and being a small survivor, I don't think we quite spotted them. But nonetheless, does get the down. We do spot Pedro also at Shack. We're trying to get maybe one more for this game, as we're going to be playing 50-50s around the Shack window, but a beautiful dash is going to convert on the Pedro. What a flick there. As you see Dan making that beeline for Rocket, or maybe not actually, as we're taking it looks like the pick. Yeah, no, we spotted them. We're going to just try to force them out here.
this is the best case scenario for Zaka right now. Dan has to make it out. Is he going to move in to try to get a pickup? Nah, surely he doesn't, right?
I don't know. It's risky. You don't really want to risk your life for Pedro's. Pedro's not worth as many points. You ideally, if you're going to take a risk, you might go for Rocket, but Pedro's the survivor who's way closer. Dan, just playing these 50-50s. Zaka is going to be able to get the hit over the pallet. We do get the pick onto Pedro right now. Now, because the pick was on the opposite side of the pallet, we are able to make a decent bit of distance respectively. Pedro making the beeline. We do hear Rocket at our feet right now, so we know where these survivors want to commit, but there's so much blood on this map. We might get one more power.
Is one more power going to be enough? I honestly didn't. I thought that was it, but then Dan decided, no, we're not done. Moved back into the map, and now Pedro could be going for the pickup on Rocket. Dan is playing on Gallows, has the balance landing to try to make his distance. Pedro does get found out. Can Zaka connect with his flick? No, he decides to switch and maybe go for Dan. Is that what we're doing right now? I think that was a little bit the idea. Rocket's still on the ground, has to be picked up, and I have to be honest with you, I kind of lost where Rocket was. Okay, never mind. We found Rocket, but Pedro takes the hit, and can Rocket make it out?
Yeah, like you said, Rocket has that light, so does have that ability to be able to get some more distance. Now, Fog Vial is going to be dropped one more time. Zaka does spot them committing around. The flick does come through, and Rocket ends up on the floor. Now, Dan, what are you doing? That endgame collapse is slowly closing in. Rocket and Pedro also nearing the bleed out as well. So, at what point does Dan just say the risk is not worth the reward? We're just
I think this is it.
Yeah,
I think this is it. With like 20% left on the timer, and yeah, this was the moment. For a second, I thought he was actually going to move back in.
Wait.
I was like, somebody stop this, man.
Wait, there's a chance we get a bleed here. I think Pedro is holding Shack like this. If Rocket bleeds out, Pedro might think they can get Hatch in time. I don't know if Rocket's going to bleed in time, but we do find the pick nonetheless, so it doesn't even matter. I was going to say, I don't know if how close that would have been. Endgame collapse is going pretty slow. Rocket was extremely highly bled out, though, so I don't know. Either way, if Pedro, I think, bleeds out, nonetheless, we have the fresh Cardi, we have it all, so the stages won't really make a difference. It'll be 9 overall for Zaka, and what a recovery in the endgame.
That was an explosive endgame, and I feel like Dan showed us how when where there's a will, there's a way, right? It nearly made the impossible happen. Moving back in, taking quite a few risks, but it nearly paid off. If Rocket there gets a light and he's able to make it for the gates, Fogfire coming in, that was interesting. Well done to Zaka, and well done to his weapons.
Yeah, I mean, this is a pretty good way to start it off here. You're trying to get that reverse sweep going, get that momentum back under you, and 9 stages is pretty difficult, I'd say, overall. I mean, definitely, they lost a lot of their totems early on. They had crowd control for a decent bit of that game, but we'll have to see where things end up turning out to watch a little bit of this replay. And, I mean, we're going back to it instantly. I need to see, was Rocket just on our right side when we dashed through this tile? I swear I saw them. If it was, that is an insane play by Rocket there. Just a full run at the killer during the Fog Vial.
He's on the right side, isn't he?
Yeah, I think that is. I think that's the Claudette silhouette. So just the full confidence. This is why we have these items allowed in this situation. Yeah, Rocket just runs in the face of Zaka. Zaka had no idea about it. This is what we love to see with this.
My God, making the best out of Fog Vial. What a play from Rocket, just deciding that he is going through it. And yeah, what a catch. I did not see that little silhouette in the midst of the entire Fog Vial happening at that moment.
I mean, so much happened in this trial. We didn't even cover this too much as well. It was a mind game almost on the top main building. We had the top window crowd control that Dan had vaulted earlier, so Pedro had to take the send towards the bottom front window, and I mean, that was such an early M1 for the trial.
It was, but you mentioned crowd control. We only saw 1 volt being blocked by crowd control until it was removed. So while it did stay in the match, it did not bring as much value. Or you could argue that getting that 1 vault in main, blocked was worth the perk by itself. I probably don't think so. And here we saw a great play from Spitz, placing down a chemical trap, which allowed him to stay alive for a good 20 to 30 seconds because of that 1 slowdown, which allowed him to chain into the pallet and so on and so forth.
It's almost a little funny when you think about it in perspective here. We had more chem traps activated than we did crowd control windows blocked.
But we did. That is a good perspective, actually.
that one window did matter quite a bit, actually, as that top window ended up still being blocked when Rocket ended up going there, which we just saw how they went down back main. They weren't able to vault in while wrapping around the top balcony of the main building, but I mean, yeah, Totems always is this. It's a gamble. And like we said before, Dead Dog Saloon is such a dictated map. You know what you're loading into. So the totems are even more findable pretty early on if you know where to check in all of the static resources.
Yeah, the locations, I want to point out, even I know where they are, and that's saying a lot. But Fredo here, we can see the patience of this man tonight, and does end up baiting the M1, makes it to check window, and then just, I think right now, Zaka, the next is he drops this chase and doesn't stick to it. Pedro just yeah, absolute powerhouse tonight.
Yeah. Pedro has just been online, and this tourney is. We get the down on the Pedro at the back of Water Tower here, and we committed, I think it was Spitz who's here. We get the stun on it. We get a second chem trap does apply, but it's so hard. This is such a difficult 50-50 to play on serve, as you have to almost pre-send it super early, even on same ping. I mean, if there's one thing we know Spitz for, it's being an absolute demon in these situations, and it's really just a gamble for him even.
It is, but yeah, some of these plays are a gamble by themselves. They call them 50, for a reason, and sometimes you win and sometimes you lose. But we saw Champion of Light getting quite a bit of value as well, and Spitz, talking about 50s, he's now showing us how many he won over here, which was quite a few, just making sure that Zaka did not get any value and just kept going back and forth, blocked the window, but Zaka had to give up.
Yeah. Your power is on a time limit. You have to make a choice at some point. I think we ended up getting around barely, and we probably should have got that down, but just a little bit of an overflick. Yeah. Crouching it barely there. Pedro didn't get committed to, but then a 50-50 at the wagon pallet. We don't quite see it, but I wonder how close, because we spent so much time chasing a check. How many seconds left we had on the power?
Probably, what is this, 10, 15 tops?
Yeah, absolute tops. I would imagine that was the last mind game we could go for. If we lost that 50-50, I would envision Spitz as winning that and just living the entire power.
Plus, he had a decent palette to play with, and when you put a decent palette in Spitz's hands, well, you have a great palette, actually. So now we were advocating for Zaka to just go in this with a full mental reset and able to just look at this with fresh eyes, which honestly, I think if there was a way to kick off the second part of tonight, this is probably the way he would have wanted to go.
100% is. Talking about the upcoming match now, I think if I'm not mistaken, it will be Pedro who's piloting that Oni. And I mean, I think if you are Elysium, you cannot allow as early a hit as you got for as early as Zaka was able to collect. I think you cannot allow any sort of snowball. And really, there's just so much you just cannot allow them to do. You can't die in a good 3-gen. You probably just can't go basement. There's I don't know. It's going to be difficult, especially with how scary Pedro has been tonight. I have no idea what the sky's limit is.
Yeah, there's probably more don'ts than do's in this match for our survivors. And as you said, having to delay that first hit in the spread of blood as much as possible, because the moment you allow Pedro to chain his power, it changes the match dramatically, and it becomes a bit of well, it's a one shot, right? So, and also build wise, it's going to be interesting to see what we see compared to Zaka. What choice did we make? Are we going to see crowd control eruption, more of the similar, or are we going to be moving away maybe a little bit from the hexes and more onto stable build?
Now we'll have to see, as we are loading in currently to trial number 6 overall, the third set. What could be our final set and our final game of today. If Pedro is able to get more than 9 stages, you're looking for 10 plus to be able to collect it. Or, well, you could get 9 stages and all 4 fresh. That is an alternate win con for Pedro. But, I mean, either way, you basically just need to have a dominant early game.
You could get a 4K, right? And then we all go home, I guess. Which honestly, I hope we get more matches because I am not done yet for tonight, and hopefully neither is a Pedro. Well, actually, neither is our Survivor team.
As you were correct. It is going to end up being a pretty similar totem build. It's going to be Ruin, Undying, Crowd Control the same, but we did opt for the Wretched Fate, so just fully committing to the Hex Totems is a bit interesting. We don't have that secondary backup to Ruin other than the Undying, so other than that, we don't have any actual regression, more of less just slow down, but Pedro spots one at the main building. Is going to end up committing onto that instead, looking to see if they can find a different survivor. We're going to push someone off that gen, let the Ruin regress it. As we're committing towards the Shack, I think that is going to be Zaka who's taking that distance. We do cleanse the Undying already in this trial, so already have that gone. I think we're playing a bit of a mind game underneath the gallows here, but whoever it is up top, yeah, it is going to be Zaka who's taking that distance. That bounce line is going to make it all the way around the backside of the main building here, but don't think we're going to quite be able to get a hit on this. Zaka should be able to make that window pretty safely.
He might, but then it's going to be blocked by Crowd Control, right? Which they were able to avoid on the front one, but that's going to be getting blocked as well. And so at this point, the main building is pretty much on lockdown for Pedro. And Pedro has been using Wretch Face a lot. We've seen him, I think, on every killer tonight, or at least two out of three so far. Does miss the hit on Zaka, though, and that might cost him quite a bit because that would have been the start that he needed. And Zaka should be able now to make another pallet, end up winning the 50, and does get a filler in the corner. We got a hit. We do.
I think we were hoping to get the stun in the way that we could chain it better towards the tiles, so got a little bit greedy quite possibly there. Gave that early M1 as Zaka's gonna be able to make some good distance back towards the Shack right now. We see, I would imagine the survivors are basically full splitting up on these gens, just trying to get as much progress on the board as possible. As Pedro just gonna be walking this one down, using that splintered hold to its maximum potential, that increased spawn of the blood orbs by 33%. As we collect the power in hand, Xeno gonna be caught out here at the filler pallet, using that 5 moves ahead alongside the fog vial to be able to wrap this decent bit. Playing the 50-50, Pedro not gonna be able to quite get that first dash online. Is now gonna be wrapping around. Do we get the conversion on the second one? Is now the 50-50. Xeno vaults over. Pedro commits and follows, and that'll be Xeno on the floor. The first down of this trial.
But I feel like Xeno went to take that chase. I feel like he ran towards Pedro and said, you know what, I'm taking this one, because he could have been rotating anywhere else, and you expect them to know where the killer is at all time, right? They're all on comms and chatting out where the killer is. So yeah, I think Xeno decided to take this chase, and it gained him a little bit of time, but not that much. However, we don't have power anymore on Pedro, right? And we are looking for that restart right now, and Zaka playing in what is usually quite an unsafe pallet. Does he manage to, he has to buy enough time for Balanced Landing to come back.
Yeah, just playing around this though. Pedro gonna start gaining bloodlust pretty soon. Zaka's gotta be wary of that. We'll end up dropping the pallets, gonna play the 50-50 on the vault. Crouches to try to fake it, but Pedro is well aware of your antics, Zaka. Taking that M1 now, wrapping up to the back of the main building, but we're not going to commit to this. We instead are just more than happy to take the blood. Second gen does end up popping though, I'd envision Zaka going to be meeting up with whoever that survivor was and getting a reset sometime soon, but I think we're just more than comfortable playing around this. We grab the blood orbs off the hook, and now we're just looking for survivor to chase with power.
And Rich Phase is the only thing that we have left, right? Undying is gone, Ruin is gone, Crowd Control is gone. That's all we have to work with, but wins a great 50-50, I want to say, on Tech, and is able to get that. Tech did not see him rotating back, and this is a pretty important and fast down that allows him to now try to get blood up. There should be quite a bit of blood around main, and then potentially start a new chase. We do see the last, yeah, he's defending Rich Fate, so that is the last totem that we see in the corner that Xeno was trying to get rid of. That is the last hex.
But it looks like we're going to try to bait Xeno here to stay isolated at this pallet. We already got our smash it off, so nothing else to play but the 50-50 over the vault, and we'll be taking that M1, getting the power once again online. Pedro, though, doesn't want to commit onto Xeno, wants to try to find someone else here. We only have 2 stages gained in this trial so far. That totem is the only thing we're holding on to, like you said. Our last perk to be able to help us in this trial, because we're walking down Tech right now. The basic endurance, though, probably is long up, so I think we're just trying to hope to maybe get an M1 on the survivor, and it's going to be close. We're setting it to the Shack window. Pedro going to go for the swing and connecting on the Tech. That'll be a second down onto our David King, but Pedro wants more, Cam.
He does, unfortunately, doesn't make it in time to save his totem, which he was, but he is in time to get a very quick hit on Xeno, and probably going for the pickup. I'm not sure they're going to have enough time to pick up Tech. I'd be guessing he's about 50% now. Probably does get up in time. Yeah, they do. They do get him up in time, and especially because we are seeing we'll make it and Botany build on Zaka, giving that reset potential, and well, Botany putting in quite a bit of work because he's able to fully heal Tech all the way.
And I mean, this is a dangerous spot. Xeno's on death hook right now. He spotted both Tech and Zaka. It looks like we're going to actually end up committing to Zaka right now. Playing 50-50, bumping on the wagon there, so isn't able to quite get the conversion on the Zaka, so buying that Survivor a little bit more time. We're going to instead go back and we spot Tech out around the main building here. Faking around this. Tech's going to be forced to drop, and a little bit of a mistake dropping on the wrong side, but Pedro ends up just taking the normal M1, not fully committing for the charge of the down, but looks like we're trying to play the bait here, seeing if we can bait Tech to calm that we're committing and force Zaka to go for the unhook, and looks like that's kind of what we're doing right now. Zaka going to be forced into a bit of 50-50 situation, but ends up on the floor themselves. The third gen pops. We know that must be Ebon's position, but we're just going back, charging up the slam. Can we deny this in time? I think, yes, we can. No!
Oh, that was so close. That was so close. That was so close. That was a matter of seconds. And that was great play by Pedro, pre-charging that hit to try to deny anyone who might have been coming in for the save. Zaka does get picked up. Xeno is probably going to be our target, but now both Tech and Xeno are going to be excellent targets if we're able to find okay, we find Ivan probably the least interesting. However, you might want to tag him just to get you power up, but there is plenty of blood around main, and that is probably where the reset is happening right now.
Yeah, we also see the noise notification atop the main building. I think that was Xeno hopping onto the locker after getting the inner healing off, so I mean, yeah, it's a bit risky always, as we're just absorbing the blood orbs right now. We've had so much injury in this trial that it's so difficult to be able to hold on to this without giving up too much power. And yeah, look, we have a bunch more blood orbs around the shack. I think this should be plenty somewhere around here to be able to get us our power back online, if I'm not mistaken, but maybe not. No, yeah, we do get it back online. We have the Demon Dash available to us. And now we're just camping this out. We see Yvonne, who's going to be coming in, going for a trade right now. And it looks like, can we get this down fast? Tech probably going to try to support. We just take the M1 immediately on the Endurance. That third or fourth gen does end up popping right now. But Tech, the driver, we're going to commit to wrapping around these rocks, does take the down. But now, this could be a 3v1, and it looks like we are going to just choose to force us. But the beam!
Oh, God! No. That is such a crazy play by Ivan with the Champion of Light, making that save and changing the outcome of this match, because no matter if Tech is found now or not, this is so much time that has been bought and no more power as well on Petro. What an incredible play.
Yeah. Is Pedro going to be able to collect enough blood orbs to get a power once again here? It looks like we tried to bait by making our TR sound like it was leaving. This gen is so close to completed, but we have no regression perks to help us here. As we bait go up, do we get the down Zaka? Yes, we do, over top the window. That'll be our ace Visconti on the ground, once again vaulting over. But do we commit now? Do we look for someone else? It looks like we're in a scout, just searching on the edge map. We think this might be a doubled up gen right now. All our survivors are healthy though, so if anyone is here, they're going to be quite difficult to find, as yeah, it looks like Xeno was stealthing us fully in locker just to ensure that they will not get spotted out in any sense.
I was about to say, do you think that we're suspecting of little Ivan popping out of a bush with a flashlight? Because that it kind of sticks with you. That was such a great play, and I feel like whenever that happens, the killer just becomes a little bit more aware for the rest of the outcome. They just don't really want that to happen again. We do have Blast Mine on Tech that's going to be able to be used at a gen all the way at the back here, and that's the one that we're moving towards. Both Xeno and Tech would be great targets, because that would make this into a 3v1, and they really, the pit really needs that to happen as soon as possible. Getting the hit as well here on the pallet is not the best outcome. Can he get the flick? No, we have Shack Pallet that we still have to deal with, and that is so much time bought. I do not remember if Water Tower is up, but if Water Tower is up, that could be quite a bit. Does he get, I was going to say, does he get a payoff for breaking that door? He might. I feel like that was him breaking the door at the beginning of the trial and getting that payoff, but we do see the last gen go through, so are we going to be able to get enough? I don't think so.
I think we understand that we are not collecting anyone else in this trial. There's just going to be Tech that'll be leaving this trial. And now Xeno, Zaka, and Yvonne are all going to take their outs. That will be 6 stages overall, and I mean, if there's anything to talk about in that trial, it's just the beam save. That beam save was the momentum shift. That not getting the kill onto Tech in that moment is so crucial, because then you take your chase all the way up towards the double gen. And yeah, that is just game winning by Yvonne in that moment.
Yeah, sometimes you have these crossroad plays that just separate a match going one way to another, and that I think that was it. Very impactful flashlight. You don't see, I want to say, you don't see as many flashlights during these matches as you would normally see in a pub match, but whenever you do see them, they truly carry games, as the one that we saw from Ivan here.
Absolutely here, and it was also this opening play we spotted around main building. And now this chase on the Tech, and yeah, we have no idea. We know Yvonne was here. I don't think we spotted them much, so we didn't even think that Yvonne could be the survivor with the flashlight in hand. Yvonne, though, right place, right time, right where he needed to be to get the flashlight save, to give Tech that second chance at life. I mean, it works perfectly here, as committing the Tech is just such a brutal position. And going back to the start of this game, we had the chase onto Zaka, and Zaka played this first chase phenomenally.
He did, and what do they say? They say that the worst flashlight is the one you don't see coming, and that is very true, because that is the one that punishes you the most. If you see somebody lurking around, you might expect it, you might play a little bit safer, but Yvonne was nowhere to be seen. And we had a great first chase. A lot of value was done here, missing the hit that was delaying the power by a good at least 20 seconds, and that is extremely impactful when playing against Oni, especially because Zaka doesn't even give him the hit here, makes it all the way back, and eventually does take the hit on this filler, but that was a good 15 seconds gained on what could have been a down.
Yeah, absolutely is. Then we had this chase on Xeno, and like you said, it almost did seem like Xeno kind of wanted the chase a little bit. As you had the 5 moves, you had the Fog Vial. They had the tools to be able to make the heroic play in that moment, but it ended up just being losing one too many 50s, and one's all you need to lose in these situations versus the Oni with the Demon Dash.
One is all you have to lose, especially if the killer can one-tap you, right? There's only one needed. But we also see, we saw a lot of great fakes from Pedro. Both Zaka and Pedro, I think, putting up a very good Oni performance, showing, and this play was probably my favorite. I feel like if you interrupt this unhook here, the match is over, right? Pedro just ends up winning this, and he was not by probably a second off, less than a second, which if you think about it, look at it, and then right here he is, and because of the fact that he charged up, he is not able to interrupt the unhook.
Yeah.
What is it? It's the right. He risked it, because if somebody was on it, that charge up would have been devastating. Nobody was there, and it came down to the wire.
Yeah. I don't know how close exactly, because we can't see it on the HUD, how close that power was to over, because maybe he had the charge, but if you held it for just another second, you would have gotten the distance off of the slam to possibly be able to body block Tech. Because if you can body block there for just like half a second, 1 second in that moment, that is enough time for your power to fatigue, and you could still interrupt and get the down and deny the unhook entirely. But, I mean, yeah, like we said, you don't have really much time to go back and look at the shoulda, coulda, woulda. Elysium taking set number 3 overall, starting to claw back into this one, but now we are setting to move up onto Jason Greenville Square. Another set that just needs killer perfection, mechanical perfection, the precision, the aim. I am very excited for the set coming up here, Cam.
Do you like Jason as a killer? I know that he's been quite controversial since he came out. A lot of people were fan, some were not fan, in the sense that some of the mechanics just felt very oppressive in Chase. Notably, his add-on in at least pubs was changed right there. There was a big add-on on the exhaustion.
Yeah, they did nerf Sonorok a little bit. The main gimmick for Jason has always been 13. 13 seconds, 13 meters, 13 everything. It was Friday the 13th, of course. But it did get nerfed down from 13 seconds to 3 seconds. But either way, we will be back to talk about it in a short minute. Stay tuned with us. We're going to have a quick caster break. we are back, and we are on Jason on Greenville Square, and we already see some perk value come into play. That is Darkness Reveal the Nightlight is running. When you open a locker for 8 seconds, survivors within 8 meters of a locker get their aura revealed. So going to be a pretty huge perk, I'd say, in this trial in terms of locating survivors, Cam.
Yeah, and I think we might have not seen one of the most useful perks, but his Nightlight himself. We see Nightlight on Jason, and we know that that is a treat because the last time he has played this killer, he absolutely popped up with some shots, and we know he likes these complicated or so killers. So I think it's going to be very interesting. The build, dudes, what do you expect? Corrupt just buys you that early game. Pain res is just consistent value. As you said, Darkness coming in now and not giving a lot of information on either of our survivors. We actually do see one crouch. I think Nightlight is playing like they didn't see it and might go for a bit of a sneaky hit, and he does on Tech. Now, can we find the first connection? No, Tech goes for a bit of a sneak. We do see the hit coming from Nightlight, and that is going to be the first injury of the match.
We're going to be using an Omnipotent Presence to be able to teleport and break that pallet while also getting ourselves a reload. And Tech now just sending along the edge map line. Nightlight has the spear in hand, is going to be able to make it to the pallet. We seem to go for the stun, but Nightlight was not close enough to that pallet, so Tech just ends up on the floor. To talk a little bit about it, we are seeing some pretty interesting add-ons in this trial. We are playing the use that we saw, the imprinted aluminum, which when you hit someone with a spear, they get the hemorrhage and mangled status effect for 70 seconds, alongside the eye goop. So when you reload from a hook spike for 13 seconds, you are undetectable, which is what we see right there. So Nightlight possibly playing to catch someone out, maybe get something going with the undetectable here.
And that works exactly the way you were describing it, because he does end up finding Zeno and gets that tag very quickly, goes for the reset as well, and might be moving back for the tunnel on tick. And the great thing about this map is, I don't think we're going to be seeing it, there's actually a couple of okay, I was about to say there's a couple of orbital lineups that are always interesting to see, but Nightlight just giving his consistency, getting that injury on Tech, and now Tech is just zoned out, and that's going to be a very quick down, was just blocking the corner, not much that he could do.
Good bit of awareness as well by Nightlight. We reloaded with the hook. We probably are going to want to place Tech on, so we had to make sure we popped into our Omnipotent Needle to be able to reset the hook, so then it will be available for us to actually hook Tech on. But I mean, this is the start you need for Nightlight. This is you're trying to close this out in a 3-1 fashion for you on the day. This is still a second stage of 5 gens, of course, as I was going to say that. The first generator does pop, but Nightlight now just going to be scouring, seeing if we can get anyone caught out here, but I don't think we're going to be spotting anyone anytime soon.
No, but if you're a Nightlight in this moment, you are in such a good position. You have Zeno still being injured. Okay, as I say that, he does get healed, but you have Tech on hook, and just like on a Huntress or most range killers, you cannot send one person alone to get this unhook. They're not going to be able to get a trade, and Nightlight is probably going to use that spear to send you back into Narnia and then just prevent you getting it. So this is a 2-man save unless you decide to sacrifice Tech, but it's a bit early in the match, right? On 4 generators, you don't really want to lose Tech so early.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you, and it looks like we are going to have that double save coming in. I can't quite tell who that is. I think that is Zaka 100%, but I couldn't tell if it was Kexo or Zeno alongside them that's going to be trying to make this play here. Zeno wrapping around the backside of this, or actually, no, sorry, this is Kexo, and then Tech at the last possible second does get the unhook, but we did not get an injury on either of our survivors coming in for the unhook. We now will be taking the M1 onto Zaka, but I think, actually, that hit almost seemed like right when we went into our Omnipresent Evil, which I think if you go into it and you run into the killer a little bit, you just take an M1, the killer kind of auto M1s you. So I think that's exactly what happened, but Kexo trying to play to support this will eventually be forced to take the down, or maybe not. A beautiful swing around will get Nightlight that down on the Tech right now. The second gen does pop, but I mean, this is a 3v1 extremely early on, Cam.
It is, and Zaka and Kexo now are both injured, both at great targets. We saw Zaka jumping on a generator straight away after the unhook, meaning that he is working all the way at the back of the map and doesn't really have a lot to work with because, well, Tech was looping around there and kind of got profit out of what was there. We see Darkness Reveal coming in, probably might have not been call yet, and Zeno doesn't make the pallet either. And we have to see a reset here on the survivor side. And Nightlight could even decide to just go for more value. Tries to go for a crazy shot. I didn't even know he knew where, like, that was on Kexo, I think. I didn't even know he knew where Kexo was. I didn't know where Kexo was.
Yeah. Nightlight just showing this is a killer that we are extremely comfortable on and is definitely playing into it strong today. Is going to opt to take the basement hook onto Zeno here. Zaka is going to be pushing in, understanding that they need to be the one to realistically get this killer, get the survivor off the hook in the basement. Kexo working that gent upon the top main building right now. Killer is maybe coming inbound. Question is though, do we spot them coming in? I think we do. Yeah, we see the footprints of Zaka sending it into the basement. And now, Nightlight in a kind of interesting position. It looks like we're going to try to line up and get the double hit, and we do exactly that. And now, forced to Zeno in the locker, but Zeno has the endurance status effect. Zeno can't just sit in there. You can't just wait. They know they need to commit onto this. Zaka's going to be able to make it up the stairs in time, so they will get one survivor out of the basement. But, I mean, basically for nothing, all you did was injure Zaka in this time. But now you have to kind of recoup, like, restart. And is Zaka going to heal and try to do it a second time?
That's the question. No, I think he's going straight back. We saw a bit of, I feel like we saw the spear there for a second, and we did, because he went back. He went straight back. We see Nightlight going for the hit, but we're going to be seeing probably a body block. Actually does not care, just goes for the down on Zaka, and we're going to commit to Xena now. Kexo is working on the second generator. I think 4K2 is the objective now, but no, Nightlight has not had enough and does end up finding Kexo. He's trying to prevent that generator from popping and probably is going to be successful. We're going to see a hit here. Yeah, there's not much you can do. It's a bit, I want to say, like the Hunter situation. There's not much you can do. If you drop the pallet, you're going to get hit. If you don't drop the pallet, you're still going to get hit. It's a lose-lose kind of situation. We have a bit of a reset going down in the basement, and they might end up paying for this, especially if Nightlight is able to get a double hit, which he doesn't. Decides to go for Zaka, confident that he's going to be able to just catch up to Zeno before Kexo gets picked up.
Yeah, Zeno, the last survivor standing, we were able to get the teleport onto the pallet there, so Zeno is going to be kind of called out while making the rotation towards Kexo. He's going to be forced nicely to the shack, has the light finesse, but doesn't make it over the window in time. Still going to be catching the spear of Nightlight, vaulting over the window now. Traditionally, we are going to be able to remove and reel the spear in, but we're sending it down into the basement. It looks like we're going to try to pick Zaka, but it does not matter. This will just be the Mori on Zeno, and both survivors on the ground. No second chance perks, if I'm not mistaken, in play in terms of the pickups, so no unbreakables or plot twists. So, I mean, what an electrifying performance by Nightlight.
Yeah, Nightlight, as I said, every time we've seen him on this killer, he has pulled off some crazy throws. He seems very comfortable. We can see why this is a go-to for him, specifically over anybody else in the team. He makes it work every time. Looks very, very dominant. We also did maybe miss Kexo trying to pull out a spear earlier, and that slowed him down. That would have been quite a winning play, just trying to prevent that grab from happening onto the survivor because of the spear. That obviously you can just grab them, right?
Yeah, I think that might have actually been, we were trying to protect the tunnel out. I think Hex was trying to remove the spear at that point, but yeah, I mean, either way, Nightlight came to show up today. This is the first killer we've seen Nightlight on, and it just might be the last with that kind of performances. I mean, if the serve side can just pop 3 gens of Invictus, they take it 3-1 on the day.
And you know that they're confident against this killer. We've seen them play. They've obviously been training quite a bit against it, and if they've been training against Nightlight, you can be sure that they know what to expect and how to best play it. We saw, you know what surprised me? Darkness Revealed got a lot of value, especially at the start. Revealed Tech, I believe, on the Lori, who was just crouching in the corner, and Nightlight did a great job at pretending he didn't see him, and then just get this hit very quickly into the match.
Yeah, definitely a good way to start. As yeah, it's a perk that you don't normally see in comp, so it's one that they probably weren't expecting on the side of Elysium. And I mean, yeah, it paid absolute dividends. We would use Darkness Revealed every time we were going for our teleports with the Omnipresent Evil to be able to catch survivors out, to have as much information as we possibly could. And yeah, in this chase, it was just Tech, unfortunately, was unable to get the stun onto Nightlight, was able to play it just the right distance to be able to bait the drop of the pallet while also not getting fully slammed on top of the head by the falling wood. But
As we said, it's a lose-lose situation. We see a great snipe here from Nightlight onto Tech, preventing the heal and putting him into deep wound. And Tech really had nowhere to go. The moment he dropped this, he was sitting duck. Nightlight, especially because the hitbox on that bench is extremely small, let me tell you that much. And yeah, there's nowhere you can go. You're just cooked at that point.
Yeah, and then Tech going on second stage so early, and then yeah, it's that moment right there where Kexo gets speared trying to take a hit for Tech, does take the spear, but then starts removing it, so they hinder themselves in that moment, and that allowed Nightlight to get around that survivor. That's a bit of, if you don't know very much how to play versus the killer, you might not be aware that you might have actually just costed your tunnel now in that trial. I mean, yeah, it was a death at 4 gens because of it, so I mean, it was a huge momentum shift.
Yeah, it was very early, and you can see Kexo trying to take that spear out, which just allowed Nightlight to get back onto Tech before Kexo was able to body block that entrance into Shack, and allowing Nightlight to get a very early out on Tech. I have to confess that the moment Tech got caught out all the way at the back, it was already a difficult situation, just because you have to move, as we said, as two. You have to send 2 people. At least one is going to get injured. But this is probably where everything went south, right? And then he gets a second one, and he puts him in the basement, and we get to see a beautiful double hit here. And we're trying to tempo a little bit, but it's not going to work out because of the mending, right? You're at some point you're just going to bleed out.
Yeah, Zeno does end up hopping out the locker. Nightlight takes it down on them, and Zaka's able to slip past just in the nick of time to get out of the basement. But I mean, no gens popped, but the game would have just been over even sooner if we did that. If we were able to keep Zaka trapped in the basement, Kexo would have just been the last survivor standing, but, I mean, Zaka then re-dove into the basement even though they just got out. They went for the unhook. We ended up committing this time, I think, onto Nightlight, or not onto Nightlight. We committed this time onto Zaka, taking that M1 down in the basement. I think we slugged it out fully and just went and interrupted Kexo's gen at the main building, but at that point, our survivor is already injured. There's not a whole lot we can do, but we did hold on to the gen nonetheless.
Yeah, and it might have been a way to try to keep Nightlight around the Shack for Kexo to finish an extra generator, but and that's what I was pointing out, the fact that it might look like a 4K2, but Nightlight knew better than that and went exactly where Kexo was. And I think Kexo was on, I would say, at least 80%, 70+% for sure. That's what it looked like. So yeah, they weren't able to stall him enough, and that was 4K3. That was our final result. That was, Invictus is going to have to put up a good performance, but I feel like 4K3 is definitely something that they can do.
Yeah, it's gonna be difficult, but hey, if we saw Nightlight do it, that means we can see the other side do it. And I don't know quite who the killer player for Elysium is gonna be on this killers. I don't think I've ever seen personally Elysium pick a Jason set off the top of my head, but I mean, whoever it is, you're going to have to see just exceptional spears. We saw Nightlight hit some phenomenal spears, hit that one long-range one while they were getting the reset, probably denying that reset, especially with the heal perks we have available in this trial. Like, I think we saw Zaka as the person who was going for that first unhook on Tech, healing them under hook, and had the will make it. So that spear hitting the endurance might have just been the kind of snowballing factor that forces Tech into that basically 2-tap, stuck at the statue still.
Yeah, because if he stays in the locker, that endurance is already gone, and he's just going to bleed out. And there wasn't anything. In fact, maybe the fact that he tried to leave the locker allowed Zaka to make it out and then go back in. But those kind of decisions are pretty hard to make on the fly, right? As it goes, as you said, we are going to be, if Nightlight made it, Zaka can as well, which I believe is going to be our player on the killer side here, but. I mean, Zaka has quite a mountain to climb, because Nightlight took a bulldozer and went all the way straight to the top, and Zaka has to follow that up, and it's possible. And don't get me wrong, it's DVD. The great thing is that nothing is ever set in stone, but it's going to be difficult.
Yes, it is, and we are loaded in now to trial number 8. Could be our final trial. Invictus looking to pop 3 gens. Zaka is looking for a 4K 4, really. You can't really let much pop at all. I didn't really get the reload here. as we get the undetectable with the eye goop right now. That same 13 seconds of undetectable when we get the reload. That's why we threw the spear off start to try to maybe catch the survivor out. We see a more traditional build in the corrupt, pain res, pop, and eruption, but we do see one difference in terms of add-on. We did not opt for the imprinted aluminum that we saw previous to the trial. We opted for the coroner's coffee to give that 13% haste after we injure survivor with the spear. So definitely a bit of an interesting call here to try to maybe help us go for somewhat of a 2-tap.
Yeah, and already so far we're seeing a longer chase, and it is already taking longer for Zaka to get down, and Spitz being able to survive a little bit longer on that pallet is a lot of value. I don't think he's going to be able to make it around because he got stuck for a bit of a second, but if you compare this to Nightlight, it still was very quickly. But Nightlight got it down faster. Like that's it. It really gets to show you how quickly the first down was. However, as you said, more of a classic build. We do have a pain res accessible to us, and that is going to be some good. Does he make it? He's kind of close. I think that was probably one. Maybe one or two wiggles off, and no, apparently I was wrong, and both chases were about the same, so which was 1 minute. Okay, so we had a comparably similar start. Pain res use pop going out here, and let's see if Pedro is able to follow it up. Spitz gets unhooked, and he's going back to main. Is he able to find Spitz, or do we decide to go for somebody else?
We were trying to track the scratch match. I think we were hoping that the footsteps ended up being Spitz, but it ended up being Dan as we're committing onto the survivor here. We don't have the spear in hands. We just are going to get an M1 onto Dan currently, who's sending it back towards that main building into the theater, it looks like. But he's an omnipresent evil. We are just going to leave this. We're going to go try to find a different survivor. Teleporting to the nearby tile, we see the killer instinct. We hear the scream of the survivor holding the spear now through the window. It is going to be Spitz who's sending it outside the shack, wrapping around the backside of it. Do they make it? I don't quite think so. As now to the pallet, they are going to get the drop, dropping it on their teammate a little bit in Pedro, but it does still buy them a decent bit of time as Spitz is pretty safe inside the shack.
Yes, but not for long, and that did just cost Pedro an injury, a little bit of miscommunication between teams now, and we see, oh my, okay, I didn't even see that coming. Pedro goes down, and we also have the injury on Spitz that is mending, so that was a double hit on both of them, a little bit of a double back from Zaka. Is going to be leaving Pedro on the ground and goes after Spitz. We're committed to the tunnel, but we did see one generator pop, and Dan is about halfway done with the second one, and this is not something that you can afford, and if this had hit, oh my, that would have been really, really important.
Yeah, we see Zaka is going for a Nightlight was going for very patient shots, but Zaka understands you're playing for such a difficult win con. You don't have that time to always be super patient. Now we'll be connecting on the Spitz. We'll be following them towards the edge map. There's no way we have some sort of beam or firecracker coming in, right? No. Nightlight was looking like maybe it was something that was going to happen, but that's such a big risk, and we were quite a bit out of the range, I think. Dan will end up popping that second gen of the trial, though, but this is only the tie condition. One more popping, and that will be the win for Invictus.
I feel like we saw Nightlight dancing a little bit around Spitz, trying to potentially cause a trace on himself, which as the healthy survivor, that would have been the best case scenario, especially because it would have allowed the generator to pop. We see a lot of progress on this shack gen, and yeah, as we said, Nightlight had the luxury of being patient. Zaka doesn't have it and has to go for these more aggressive long shots.
Scouting now. Zaka's looking for someone they needed down soon. They know that gen is such high progress. We need to get the eruption explosion on it now. Spitz does get the reset. We don't quite find where the heal is, so Zaka's kind of left out in the open, doesn't know quite where they want to commit to. Is you have to assume that there's going to be another gen that's also pretty high progress, as this is Pedro, I'm pretty sure, who's been harassing this gen so much. We go for the shot through the tree, but Pedro able to dodge that one, as we got to be aware what gen is also getting progress in this meantime, as Pedro's not going to be wrapping around this, taking the patient route, going back to the pallet, but Zaka is not able to quite get the spear committed onto them here. Is making it over the window, and that committed animation will be Pedro's demise, and result them being on the floor. We're going to get the grab, as you see Spitz splitting up on another gen, Dan on a completely separate one.
Yeah, we see 3 different generators being progressed here. The survivors know that 1 more gen is all they need to put this match into the bag. And the more pressure you spread out, the easier it is, especially on a 4-man situation. You're probably going to be seeing Spitz all the way at the back. Dan is a little bit more towards the front at Shaq, has 0 hooks. It's not really a great target. We see, unfortunately, a hit that doesn't connect on Dan. And ooh, okay, hold on.
Little jump scare?
Yeah. Are we able to 1-2? No, we're not. Okay, that was quite close. But still, look at the progress that we have on Pedro. It's about halfway done on another generator, and Zaka is not able to control everywhere on this map. That is, yeah. If he gets a down with Eruption, he might be able to buy himself a little bit of time. Goes for a great shot, honestly. That was a beautiful hitbox. It's trying to just peer the hitbox of the survivor above the rock, which is a totally possible shot. Just kind of harder to do on something like the Jason Spear because of the smaller hitbox, which allows you to get more needle shots, as we saw through the tree, but it also doesn't allow you to connect that easily when doing something like that. We see a bit of a long shot does get Petro down and gets a tag onto Nightlight. If this is a turning point, we might be looking at it.
Ask down the Pedro that we already consumed the Pain Res token on the survivor, so immediate regression, and that will be enough. We are able to pop. Nightlight doubles back and sits on that top main building gen, and that is the win con overall for Invictus to take it 3-1 on the day, advancing themselves into the grand finals versus X9.
And what a performance we've seen tonight. I kind of want to take the opportunity to, yeah, let's choose an MVP for tonight. I think we know who we're going for, but Cyber, what's your opinion? Who do you think walks away with the MVP title for tonight?
He played at the Cenobite, he played the Blight, he played the Oni, and he's been on Saga all day for Invictus. It's gotta be Pedro. Just in every aspect, it's just been heroic moment after heroic moment. Amazing killer performance. Just an exceptional chase on Survivor. Just well-rounded, completely Pedro.
Yeah, without a doubt, I couldn't agree more. He was consistent. He did some really crazy plays on the killer side, very consistent on the survivor side. The first match on the survivor side was phenomenal all around. As you said, Pedro is our MVP for tonight.
I mean, brief recap of this game. It was always going to be uphill. Obviously, getting a 4K3 is impressive, but it's almost a different mindset when you have to play for a 4K3 versus you just getting a 4K3 overall. And I mean, it was a pretty good first chase. They both were pretty fast. Zaka ended up getting the down on Spitz here. It was a little bit unfortunate, the pathing. I think they did go for that Paimers. I don't know quite how close it was. They went outside. I think they misread where the hook position actually was. So it took them a little bit longer to actually get this hook than it maybe should have. But I mean, it still stopped the first gen. It was still a fine position overall, but I mean, yeah, this was just so well played by the survivors of Invictus.
I'm just thinking about it in 4K3. It was just that steep of a road to climb up. We did see some really good plays from Zaka, who tried his absolute best, and honestly, had it been a 4K2, I think we saw here a little bit of a pallet drop onto Pedro, but a 4K2, honestly, had Kexo been able to finish that generator, I think that was more realistic to match, not to stop, but to match. I think the 4K2, because we saw Zaka in a pretty decent position. He still had 2 pain reses, but there was a lot of progress on the gens. So yeah, maybe it might have actually just been preparation against this specific killer. Nightlight bringing a darkness reveal that gave him, it gave him 2 solid kills. That perk alone gave him a lot of value.
Yeah, and this was a moment that could have been the turning point for Zaka. Spitz dropped the pallet on Pedro, ended up getting the M1 there, and then we get the double hit at Shaq, spearing Pedro into Spitz, forcing Pedro onto the ground and Spitz into the endurance. And I mean, we have a shot that we take here on Spitz, going to the nearby tile, just trying to make it away. If this hits and connects on the Spitz and we have a double down, double basement, I mean, the game isn't over, but it's as close as you probably were going to get for Zaka to be able to get that momentum.
Yeah, Zaka went for a lot of medium to, I want to say, very long range shots. And if any of them had connected, well, again, if and buts were candy and nuts, we'd be looking at a very different game. But not to take away anything from Invictus, who absolutely did fantastic tonight. Both of our team did, but I feel like the win was well-deserved.
Yeah. And like we said, that is all for us on the day, but not for all of us, at least. That's all for me and Cam, at least in this day, is Invictus take it overall. But Mathis, I think you had something you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, we need some answers.
We might need some answers from what popped up earlier during the stream after the second set, if you remember, or the people that are now just tuning in for this announcement. Because the people that have been sticking around were rewarded with a bit of an Easter egg earlier today. And you know what? Might as well play the trailer again.
For the people survivor, so Zaka won't be getting the FDP, but maybe the firecracker coming through. Volkus may get the firecracker.
Who has the cracker? Good sound. We're done. Never mind. That was a big promise. That's a big promise.
So yes, ladies and gentlemen, I am very proud to finally today announce the namesake of this entire organization, Revival Divisions League Season 1. So you might be confused looking at Season 1 now, because typically people assume on the first tournament, that's typically a tournament Season 1. But as I've advertised multiple times and announced, that this entire tournament, this first double elimination bracket that we have currently ongoing is Revival Tournament. It is our test run. Practically a Season 0. Now, it is time to set the bar much higher and push Comp DBD further beyond than ever. You can already see it at the bottom, September to December 2026. I'm going to give you some information on the upcoming huge tournament tonight. Sign-ups will also open the next couple days as well, so stay tuned for those. But for tonight, I do have a couple of things to go over, of course, because this is not just the only screen that I want to look at. I'm here to present to you the bracket, or the format of the entire tournament, and everything else to look out for. So, first of all, let's have a look at the full season schedule. So this is something I've been drafting up for, or planning, really, for months. And there's been a lot of negotiations happening with various different organizations, various different partners, how we can get this running the best. So, for this first season, I would like to introduce to you 4 divisions that will run simultaneously. So you're practically going to have 4 tournaments run at the same time on this channel right here, representing different regions. So you might already be looking at the regions here. We have EU, MR, which is typically not a very much used abbreviation in CompDBD. That stands for the Americas, so both North and South America and Central America. And then we have an OCE and an SA bracket as well. So Oceania, which will also include Southeast Asia and South America, should be fairly obvious. So with EU and, the Americas, that is going to be the main tournament that we'll have running, already starting in 2.5 weeks, I'm pretty sure, if my calculations are correct there. Many people might be asking, why am I putting these 2 regions, I almost want to say. I mean, these are multiple regions, right? So EU and MR will be Russia, all the way from everything from Russia to also include some South American teams. So we're talking about Russia, we're talking about North Africa, we're talking Middle East, we're talking Europe, we're talking North America, East, West, Central, and then South America. So obviously we can see 2 divisions here, 16 teams that we will pick. There's not going to be qualifiers for this. We're just going to head straight into this tournament in 3 weeks. And then later down this year, we're also going to slowly introduce OCE and SA as well. The big goal here is to have multiple divisions run in every region simultaneously. The reason why we're doing it like this for now is because We need to obviously provide you with the best and best content, the highest quality of teams possible, and it's pretty difficult to, with some of these regions, to not just have a monopoly run. Especially why I'm intentionally putting MR here, so the Americas, and not just North America. Because Sinners, for example, if we let them play in South America alone, first of all, they're a globally beloved team, and only having them play in if they want to sign up to begin with, that is, of course. If they want to play, then we'd only let them for, the later half of the tournament. So if they are interested in joining, they will also be in these EU and the Americas Division 2. So it's sheerly based on quality for this first season. We're probably going to look into a bigger region split, but that's all information to come. Let's focus on the tournament we have coming up now. So now we are familiar with the schedule. Starts September, runs all the way to December. Then, why were half of the games blue and why were half of them green? That is because we're introducing home and away fixtures. So this is going to be a 15-week regular season, a double round robin in essence. There's no qualifiers again, only sign-ups, which are coming very soon. Every team plays every other team twice. Once at home, once away. What that means, I'm going to explain very soon. There's not going to be playoffs. This is going to be the exact same as in football. The standings after the final week determine placements. And every match is a best of 4. That is a format I introduced or invented last year for Season 10. So yeah, we are just going to go with the league itself. There's not going to be any more games besides this. Well, I say that now, but there's definitely some other tournaments some other special events that we want to offer to the community as well, but we'll get to that in a second as well. So best of 4 scoring, you should be fairly familiar with this. This isn't going to be based off of wins and losses. This is going to be actual scoring as it's used in most professional sports. So obviously I'm heavily influenced by football, and you're going to see more of that in, I think, the next slide as well. But yeah, same system. So with best of 4s, you can have wins, you can have losses, you can have draws. If a set is tied, doesn't matter. We'll just go straight to the next one. We do not replay sets. And this way, we're always going to have a guaranteed 3 or 4 sets take place, which is going to make slots much more easier to schedule around for the teams, for the community, and also just for us. Because then the matchup times are much more predictable, right? Then, home and away structure, what does this mean? So there's going to be standard picks and bans for every matchup. But then the home team obviously is going to be first randomized. Every team gets to be home and away once against every other team. But what is the benefit? So people might be assuming at first, oh, they are going to have to play on their ping, but it's a bit unreasonable. So instead, the home picks the map. So the home team selects the map for every killer played that match. Doesn't matter if it's picked by them or the opponent, they pick every map for every killer from the entire game. So there's no map pools. The home team gets to decide. There's no map pick commands. The home team just straight up decides what maps will be played on. This is supposed to give a sort of a feeling of a home ground scenarios, kind of how you would have it in football, for example. How you typically have your double round robins there as well in the Premier League or most Bundesliga, Serie A or Ligue 1. It's the same format everywhere. Home and away, but here we're going to characterize the maps as being home and away. Whatever teams are more comfortable with. So this might bring up some really interesting scenarios. For example, you have one team that's extremely well known to be very good on Nurse. You don't ban it. You instead reserve your bans for something else. Your opponent picks Nurse. You just, okay, sure, game's on, buddy. Let's go Larry's. Something like that. Then balancing. Every division, regardless of region, competes under the exact same balancing. That includes rule set as well, so there's not going to be specific things for different regions. It's all going to be under the flag of Revival, in essence. One rule set, one standard, every region, and it's normal now. So I noticed that a lot of people are quite unhappy with the shiny coin, so we're just going to bring this back to standard. We're going to have standard cut coins coming up as well for the forced killer offerings. Chest builds are still going to be allowed, though. So if someone wants to run Pharmacy Moment of Glory, you're very free to get your resets down with the basement chest. That is going to be included in the balancing, probably across most killers as well, as the one spoiler I can give. But besides that, it's not going to be as experimental as it was for this. Again, this was mostly just to see what people enjoyed the most, get a feel for the market from every position, from viewers and players. Then, this is a pretty long tournament. Obviously, we're 15 weeks, and rosters aren't extremely stable all the time. So, we're also going to introduce proper transfers for this league. Either it's going to be at the end of every month or 2 months. We'll still have to see what I decide on in the end, or my team. But yeah, we're going to allow anything across from additions, removals, and transfers. And obviously the first idea is going to be, isn't there going to be cheese with one team performing really badly, so you just take that entire team's roster and put it on a different team. But there isn't very much incentive, obviously, because this is a league. So all teams play from start to finish. This isn't eliminations where some team can't continue participating any longer. And then in the end, we also do have anti-cheese preparations, so all changes will be subject to staff approval. We're still going to be pretty lenient, so if you have one person that didn't play in the entire tournament and you want to add them, go for it. It's the same logic as in football. If you manage to get a deal with a really good player, then why not profit from it? But there's obviously still going to be fair play rules in play, so we don't have Man City get 120 charges, I think it is now. That's going to be elite ball knowledge for the people that watch football. But yeah, let's move on. So additional events already teased. We are finally bringing back 4v1v1v1 tournaments. I think I said that right. That should be the most v1v1s. So this is probably just going to be for the EU and Americas bracket at the start. We're probably also going to have at least one take place for OC and SA as well. So yeah, if you're not familiar with this is a tournament format that was only done once in 2022 during season 7 of DBD League, I believe. Yeah, should be. And never brought back again for some reason, even though the players loved it, the viewers loved it, I loved it. So why not bring it back? So in case you're not familiar with the format, so 4 teams from Division 1, we're preferably going to take the top 4 teams as the bonus for being at the top of the table. They will be invited to participate in a 4v1v1 tournament. It's probably just going to be best of 3 only, a 1-day thing, so just done deal in 3 hours or less. And we're just going to take the ladder or 1v1 rule set and balancing, what most people are familiar with from the 1v1 aspect. We're going to have the same teams play from the standard league as well, so this isn't going to be bonus 1v1 teams that you're going to assemble. This is going to be the straight up teams from the league itself. 1 killer versus 4 survivors. They all start a check, one after the other. Have 1 chase until down. The map is not reset. Times are added. Totals decide the winner. So if you haven't seen this in 2022, you have all 4 survivors run to shack immediately. One stays a shack pallet, starts the chase with the killer. Once that survivor's down, he DCs, killer returns to shack. All the other survivors have to stay in basement during this time. The next one comes up, timer starts again, times are added, and then compared to the other team, and that is how the set point is decided. Then we'll maybe also bring back sandbag tournaments in the future. That's something that's been gone under the radar quite a lot in the community, where mostly now just content creators try to pull one off every once in a while, and this is relatively popular still in the Russian community. If there's an interest here, we'll be happy to host it. We've already been mentally prepared to do this as well for a good month now. So if there's interest in the league by the players, then we'll be happy to bring something like this back as well. And so I lied a bit about the playoffs thing. So we are going to have relegation playoffs. If you watch English football, Premier League and Championship, you'll be very familiar with what I'm about to show you. And this is where something completely new to Comp DBD is also introduced. Continuity across tournaments. How this works. At the end of the tournament, of the Season 1, obviously we have our final standings. The bottom 3 teams of Division 1 get relegated to Division 2, and the top 2 teams of Division 2 get promoted to Division 1. And then there's going to be playoffs, promotional playoffs for 3rd to 6th place of Division 2. These are most likely going to take place in January, so then the Season 2 would then continue in February. 3rd place 6th, 4th place 5th, just single elimination. And then they have the 2 winners play a final, and the winner of this is promoted to Division 1. So we have our exchange here. By this point, we'll probably also expand the league to 10 teams each division. But right now, it's more of a scheduling thing again, because we definitely want to knock this out by Christmas. And then, obviously, we're also going to bring this to Oceania and South America. And yeah, as I said already, as it says at the bottom too, all divisions will likely be expanded to 10 teams next year. Prize pool! You already saw this in the trailer. So yeah, have a good look at this. Quite the jump going from $1,000 to $5,000, wouldn't you say? So, but that is the quality we provide here at Revival Divisions League. As I said, raising the bar also includes prize pool. Obviously, this isn't setting any groundbreaking records, but this is already in the top 3 prize pools of all time, probably in the entire community. I mean, I know there's been big ones out there, but they were mostly just one-off things, and we're trying to bring consistency to this. So 5,000 is hopefully going to be the lowest prize pool we'll ever have. So with that being said, yeah, this is probably going to be split across Division 1 and 2 for now. We want to, this is also the thing, we're not going to have just the top 4 teams benefit from the prize pool, because everybody obviously has to play for 15 weeks here, and in the future, maybe up to half a year, depending on how stable we are able to build this. So everybody is going to get some sort of compensation. And I'm not talking about various goodies for Division 2, so keep that in mind. It's not just going to be top 4. Everybody in Division 1 is meant to be paid, and then also at least the top 4 of Division 2 to make it more lucrative for everybody participating. And then yeah, OCE and SA, obviously their regions are a bit smaller. This is mostly experimental at the start as well, because I personally really want them to be engaged more. And yeah, we're just going to chuck them $500. I think the largest prize for that OSL, or the biggest OCE league has ever been able to collect, was $1,000 Australian dollars. So this is already up there on par, considering it's also only going to be a 6-week tournament for 4 teams. So I think this is justifiable, and I hope, yeah, the players are happy with this, everybody else. But keep in mind, this entire organization is a big work in progress. I mean, we never stop learning, right? And in the end, this is only our 2nd tournament ever. So especially this tournament so far, has been a very big learning curve for me specifically, but also for the entire team, obviously. And we hope to bring you bigger and better tournaments coming forth and improve year by year, and maybe in the end properly get everybody some lucrative positions for this. And yeah, provide for the community, raise the bar to points that it's never seen before in terms of quality, in terms of community. The main goal of this entire thing still is that we want to build an organization here that everybody in the community can say, I feel proud of being represented by this. And yeah, that is the end of my little presentation. I look forward to hearing everybody's feedback. Obviously, I'm focusing on production now, so I can't see the chat or anything like that, even though we're only on a 2-minute timer here. 2-minute delay. But yeah, thank you very much. Again, the trailer, you can imagine who made that one. Torsolman, of course, who already made the trailer for the first tournament as well. You're going to see a lot more content creation across the board as well, so we are definitely branching out from just streaming. Stay tuned for that also. But for now, this is going to be Mathis signing out. My casters have already pointed out, we will be back with X9 and Invictus in a grand final, first week of September. And with this tournament taking place a week after, straight up. So, stay tuned everybody for an awesome September and tons of exciting content as well. Thank you very much for your time, and I'm going to sign out with another quick watch of the trailer. See you guys then. Talk to you soon.
For the people survivor, so Zaka won't be getting the FTP, but maybe the firecracker coming through. Volkus may get the firecracker.
Who has the cracker? Good setup. We're done. That was a big promise. That's a big promise.
People survivor, so Zaka won't be getting the FTP, but maybe the firecracker coming through. Volkus may get the firecracker.
Who has the cracker? Good setup. We're done. That was a big promise. That's a big promise.
be crawling, and of course he is the For the People survivor. So Zaka won't be getting the FDP, but maybe the firecracker coming through. Volkus may get the firecracker.
Who has the cracker? Good setup for Dan. One of the big promise. Big promise.